you have to go insane to remain sane. They'd see me and be like, hey, he's a crazy dude. You know, what are you gonna do? Get abused for the next years and then go live with that shame of what happened to you? This is home. You have to accept this is reality. And this is where things take a turn for the worst. When I was about 7 or 8 is when I started to realize, like, oh wait, I don't have that normal family, that Brady Bunch family that I thought I did. Now I was loved and cared for, and it wasn't like we were poor, but seeing your mom overdose at 7 or 8 and then go to school the next day and then try to see the kid, it's like hard to understand how can I relate to any of these kids?
Yeah, they're not telling stories about their parents getting into fights or overdosing or drugs or anything, right? As
I got into high school is when I really started to get into crime. And I was doing good in the beginning. You know, I was wrestling. I had a 3.7 GPA. But I was so embarrassed to bring those kids to my home because they had the Betty Crocker mom. They had, or what it seemed like. And I had the chaos in my house. And I had all this rage and anger that I never understood. And friends that were older in my neighborhood or cousins of mine, instead of saying, hey man, you're doing good and try to push me to righteousness, they're like, hey, you want to learn how to make some money, bro. Screw that. Can I curse, dude?
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
Like they're like, F that shit, man. Just come on with us. So they taught me basically how to start robbing drug dealers, stealing safes.
And how old are you?
I was 15 at the time. When I first hit
You're a big kid though, right? I mean, you're like,
to tell you the truth, I was tall, but I was a skinny little, I was thin, yeah.
Okay.
And but I was fearless, and I had at that time I didn't understand, the psychology behind it of why I had so much rage and anger and why I was doing this. And it wasn't so much that I needed the money; it just felt like finally I'm with people that are broken like me. Looking back after all the years, I kind of understood that. But at that time, I was a wild kid. And so they're about 20, 25, and I grew up with 2 sisters, and they were like, basically like, you don't have any brothers, we're your brothers. And they would make me fight every day, fight other kids, like fight for money, bare knuckle stuff. Yeah, like crazy shit. Go to these trailer park neighborhoods and fight. And now looking back, I was basically being used and manipulated at a young age and it wasn't a gang, but like these dudes were heavy into, what they were doing as far as like fraud, like steal a computer, get all the information, we'll pay you this much, do this, do that, do this. And I kind of like started to be like, wow, I'm feeling accepted here. So I fully got out of school, said, screw this, I found my tribe, I'm good now.
How old were you when you dropped out?
16, basically 15, 16 is like, that was a pivotal change in my life. Was 15 to 16 is when I was doing so good in school, wrestling and this and that, but I was so embarrassed with everything at home. So I gravitated towards people that were more like me in their home.
Right.
And one of my closest friends, he passed away, his name's Chance, Chance Wilson, like my brother. And the way we met at 15 years old was, I don't know if you guys remember American Online or whatever, AOL.
Yeah.
So everyone used to be on the chats or whatever in like high school, middle school, and he's like, hey.
Bro, how old are you?
Now I'm 37.
Okay. I was going to say, you look like you're in your, late 20s. No, you could whatever. Or, you could be in your 30 or in your,
okay. State raised, so I guess it preserves you a little bit.
I was going to say, you're acting like AOL. I was like, God, that was a long time ago. Like, okay, but you're still young. You're young at that time.
Yeah, I'm super young. And his brother and his family were real, like, deep into somewhat organized crime, not like big time, but they had a system, and he's like, man, I heard you rob drug dealers. And I was like, I heard you rob drug dealers. He's like, man, come hang out with us. So that's what really aligned, like we aligned our wildness, and he had the same broken home, the hate, the anger that we didn't understand at the time. So, his brother had us fighting and we were doing all these crimes, and immediately, I would say within the first year of doing all this, I got locked up. And it was for an armed robbery on a drug dealer.
What happened?
So basically, we would either go and kick in the door. Like I had it's kind of crazy, but this girl that I was dating, who was actually my first love of my life, quote unquote, she was a stripper. And what she would do is And she was
nice.
Yeah.
And how old are you?
I'm 15, turned 16 or just turned 16 at the time.
Okay.
So she would like set these guys up, go in their house, have the windows open, and we creep in there and pull out weapons on them, or no one would be home, and we would just take all their stuff. And I wasn't using the drugs at the time. Like, I was just selling them for half price to the same people helping me find these like licks, you know? And it was wild. And eventually this guy came over to buy, I think it was like 5 pounds of weed, but we didn't have it. And the crazy thing about it was I was on house arrest at the time in juvenile system I went to rob a drug dealer's house, and I got caught doing a burglary. Like, the neighbors called, you know, even though it's a drug dealer, it's still illegal to go into a house.
Yeah.
So I just caught my first charge and just did a little time in the detention center and then the juvenile. They put me right on house arrest. So I was on house arrest. I was 16 now. And my friend Chance and I came up with the great idea to tell this guy we have 5 pounds of weed. Come in, and we walk him in an empty room. You know, I have no supervision, no parents at the time at home. They just home all the time alone. And we basically make him give up the money. You know, he's like, you know, we pull out, I think we had a kitchen knife or something like that. And he gets out of there, and we had it, and he calls the cops, and he made up saying we took his phone or whatever, but it doesn't matter, dude. A crime is a crime.
Right.
SWAT team comes in. I'm 16. My friend got away for the moment, but...
And your previous charge.
Yeah, and I was on house arrest. So, you know, and he's like, cut the band off, man, come. And I was like, nah, man, it's a drug dealer. He's like, dude, let's go. And so eventually they come, they arrest me, and this was my first real understanding of the system at 16 years old. I got what's called direct filed. If people aren't familiar with that, being direct filed is when you're under the age of 18, they make a decision to charge you as an adult based upon the severity of the crime. Mm-hmm. And they take you to Gun Club, which is the county jail of Palm Beach County, and you go on the 12th floor. And that's where they put all the juvenile charges adults. And you got kids there facing murders and armed robberies. One kid was in there for 6, like the worst of the worst juveniles. And I had an armed robbery, which is punishable by life felony. You know, because anytime you use a weapon, a deadly weapon in the commission of a robbery, regardless of what it is, but I was so young that I thought I was like, look at me, dog. Yeah. So in there, this was my first understanding of how corrupt and crazy and violent Florida, especially the youth offender system is. And, you know, my family, they wanted to help as much as they could. At the same time,
the house side know you were a lunatic.
Yeah,
right.
You know,
he's
exactly, 100%. Like my dad, and they were like, listen, you know, we've helped you the first time, and you're robbing people in the house on house arrest at 16.
It's not good.
So their idea in the beginning was to just let me sit for a month, which at 16, that's forever, right?
Yeah.
You know, and this was not your ordinary like detention center or like regular jail. Like, this is the worst kids. Everyone's gonna go to prison here or charged adult, or if they have a good lawyer, maybe they'll get down to the juvenile sentence. And it was just constant fighting, and you know. It was like no real like and Crips and, you know, gangs like that, no racial gangs, but it was like this city, that street. And me being a white boy from the suburbs of Boca Raton, right, South Florida, it was like literally just like, hey, where you from, white boy? And I'm like, Boca, man, tighten up, and just fight. So they have a thing called a test of heart. And a test of heart in youth offender and the juvenile system in Florida is where if you're not known or you're not affiliated or no one knows or can vouch for you, you get in there and you're going to have to fight, maybe stab. And if you're weak or you show any, like they're putting brooms, like it's in the news where they're violating dudes with broomsticks and the officers are encouraging it. It's like they take advantage of the young men because we really just need like a fatherly role model. And they see that in us and they'll be like, you guys fight here. A Friday night fight, have us in the cells fighting at 15, 16, 17 years old. And we're all filled with rage and anger. We're flooding the toilets. And I was in so many fights there, jumped, hit with locks, just nonstop. And this is not even prison yet.
I don't feel like I do well there.
And we're all juveniles. And like, since I was like, this is where I really learned who I was, because I had no idea this existed. I just, you know, I was fascinated by the life and thought, oh yeah, I'm tough. No, no, this is the real deal. And I'm not there with any friends. You know, I'm there by myself, this white dude from the suburbs, and I'm around these young that are like, they've been doing this since they were 12, you know? And so it was nonstop just fighting. And then they would make us fight. And the officers, if you didn't fight, the officers would beat the crap out of you. You know, they had a thing called the Doom Squad where they'd come in there. I'm sure, you know, like they'd come in there with their little squad, with their mat, and they'd beat the crap out of you. And it was just nonstop. And eventually they make a decision when you go to court if you're going to be charged or convicted as an adult or a juvenile. Now, lucky for me, since I really didn't have an extensive record at that time, they said, we're going to give you one chance. You're going to go to a program, which was a level A program, which is juvenile prison. You go there for, I think it was 16 months. And it was somewhere in like Miami. I don't know where it was, but it was like it was juvenile prison, but they have like military structure. And
so like a boot camp?
Kind of. It was like prison boot camp, I guess, for juveniles. Like, but they ended up a kid there, the officers, and like this, or the drill instructors, quote unquote, but they were officers, like they were very hands-on. So, but I was like, oh yes, because at that time I was so scared to go to the adult system because you hear all these stories and then all these kids are making rumors. So I take it the time, and I think it was 16 months and 3 years probation maybe. But I was just so happy that I didn't have to go to the adult system. And so I go there, and I'm probably 16, about to turn 17, staying there. And it is just insane. I mean, these guys, the officers, are pretending like they're drill instructors. Like they were in this, but no, they're beating our asses. They shut it down because they beat this one kid to death. Like brutally, they would just kick us, punch us, like just beating us nonstop, making us fight. It was like what I was at on the 12th floor when I was direct filed, yet they had so much more control over us, and we had no contact to our families. And it was like, holy shit, you know? And it wasn't as methodical and as calculated as the adult system where you have some like real cunning criminals. This was just pure unadult, like they were just violent kids and violent COs that were taking advantage of these young men, and just, we would fight for entertainment. They'd gamble on us, we'd fight, all this stuff. And me being the white dude from the suburbs, it was just constantly fighting. And I was in no gangs or nothing like that. And I got out at about right before I turned 18.
Did you do the whole 16 months?
Yeah, in the program. And I ended up, I think I ended up getting more time. It was crazy in there. But I get out, and however, I'm on the probation. Oh, I had probation, right? And I violated my probation as soon as I got out. And
how?
Just something so stupid. I think it was I didn't show up at the right time. It was just something so dumb. And so I went back, but they let me write. Like, it was like I went back real quick, but at that mind, I thought I was like the big dog now. I came home to all my friends. They didn't see me in forever to them. And I'm working. I was like muscular. And so now, instead of saying, I'm going to change and be better, I'm like, I'm all in now. I got connections with these people. I know I'm tough. Because before I was a little meek and timid, but now I'm like a savage. And the beatings and the constant fighting and knowing what I can endure and what I can give back. And mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, I became like a savage for all the wrong reasons. And I came home, and I'll never forget, my mom didn't even recognize me when I came home. She was like, you know. And so I was trying to like do good, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I was trying to, I think, go to college, but at the same time, I'm robbing drug dealers again, fighting, linking up with the same people. And it was like, I'll never forget, like, we're in a house, and there's a safe there. And I'm 18 or 19, just about to turn 19 right now.
How did you get into a house with a safe? What I understand. So, I mean, what you're saying robbing drug dealers.
Okay,
like
so let me explain it better.
You're skating over that like that's
okay.
Like so, that's a normal thing.
So
like,
what
that's
we
not
would
normal.
do, what we would do is we would find, and these are my two friends, Mark Anthony and Chance Wilson. We were like the three amigos. They're the Tombstone, right? The Revenge Tour, and Doc Holliday. And so what we would do is we go scouting, and we would find out whoever was selling drugs. And we're young now, and we learned from the older kids, and they're gone doing fed time. Some are dead, whatever. So now we're like the big dogs, I guess you'd call the suburbs, the trailer park, whatever you want to call it, you know, at least we thought we were. And we'd find out who was doing it, whether it was from a stripper or another woman, and we kind of have her infiltrate them, or we start slowly buying a little bit of amounts, and we called it building a castle. And we were young, devious kids, dude, that just listened to too much rap music and watched Scarface too many times.
Right.
And we would either get them to trust us, put their guard down, and either find out their schedule, break in when no one was there, or we would just do a pull-on, straight-up home invasion and lay everybody down, take their stuff, and be
just
out.
Walk up,
sometimes
kicking
we'd
the
dress
door
up like the cops, and we'd pull them over on the side of the road and just catch them in their car. Like, we'd have them thinking they were meeting somebody for a drug deal. Like, we were bad kids.
Right.
The only thing I would say was a blessing, and I deserved to go to, like, these weren't mistakes. These were all decisions. And this was from coming from a broken home, and that's not an excuse. It was the misplaced anger, not knowing why. I didn't even know why I was doing this.
Right.
When I could be playing football, I could be going to college and having a normal life, but it was something about, like, I felt accepted, the thrill. I don't know, you know. But as I got older, I understood the psychology of why. So let's get
got out. You're 18.
Yeah.
You got out. Are you still living at home? You're kind of trying to placate your mom, like, hey, I'm going to college. I'm trying to do the right thing, but you're also robbing drug
one
dealers.
foot in, one foot out. Yeah. So the moment where I was like pretty much living at my friend Chance's house, but my mom was thinking I was going to college. Like, oh, you're doing so good, honey. Like, oh, you know. But like I said, she had her problems too, so she wasn't as aware as this like a mom that see this, like, what's going on here? You're coming home covered in, or you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, or you're breaking a safe open in the bathtub. But
So what happened? You said you broke into the one house and there was a safe.
So this was something that was actually just something I remembered as we're talking about it. So we found the drug dealer, and we knew he wasn't going to be home. We set it up to go on a date with this stripper, right? He was out there, and she was texting us the whole time. And we break in through I want to say the sliding glass door maybe, or something like that. And, you know, obviously this is before cameras everywhere and a lot of technology. So we get in, and we're trying to find everything. And the girl's like on the date texting us, it's in there, it's in there, it's in there. It's supposed to be like $4,000 and whatever. And finally we find everything. And it's in like this closet inside of a thing, hidden well. You know, I got to give it to the dude. But it's one of those safes that we can't pick up and take, because we're used to, our style used to be pick up the safe, put it in a laundry basket, cover it with laundry, and act like we're going to do laundry or whatever. This one we couldn't get out. So we have our friend come, we're like, stall him to bring the saw. We're in this man's house, trying to cut it open with a saw. My mom's calling me, you have school tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, Mom, don't worry. So we sat there for probably an hour. We got into it, and we left and got the stuff. And
was there $4,000 inside? So
what there was about $4,000 worth of, or not extra rolls. Like when they had like double stack rolls, like I don't know, like they were the pill, like a dolphin, triple, like they were, but they were called rolls.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you guys know, but and that's when I started getting now into the next level of my like criminal life, because this was worth a lot of money. Now I think it was like more than I expected. It was $4,000 if you bought it like to sell, but it was probably like almost $50,000 if you had. So we thought we were the big dogs. We were just handing them out. We were going buying shoes and clothes for women. We're young men here, and I immediately get caught. This was my where I entered now, because I never was like a drug dealer or anything like that. I just did this, like it was almost like an adrenaline rush, and the ladies loved it. We'd throw parties, and we were just like living like we were in like a Western movie, my friend and I, right?
Right.
But as we know, there's consequences, and when you start doing this to people, things get serious.
Yeah.
And
someday somebody comes looking for you.
Yeah, these weren't kids anymore that we were robbing from middle school and high school. These were grown men that've been doing this. So now,
and they're going to put together the stripper that I went on a date with that was
100%.
texting the whole, like, it's not like these guys are idiots. If they start thinking about it, they're going to be like, okay, well, it was my buddy Todd or it was this chick.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
so the only two people that really know that safe was there. So it's not hard to put together.
100%. And it's so true, dude. And like you said, they putting it together, and these weren't young dudes anymore like us. Like these were like serious dudes about being serious. So when they see this, they have to, you know, they feel betrayed, and they're coming after us. So now life is like, we're selling the drugs now, and we're making money doing that. We're still robbing, but we have a lot of problems. We're getting shot at. My house is getting shot at. Everywhere we go, people are trying to fight us. Like it's constant bar fights, just insanity.
Are you still living with your mom?
At that time? But when I say living with my mom, it's like I'd go there like here and there.
I know, but I mean, is the house that they're shooting at your mom's?
No, this was my mom's house. They were breaking windows.
Your poor mom.
Yeah, I felt so horrible. Yeah, I really, I'm glad that I was able to make amends and show her what I've become as a man today.
Right.
But man, did I put her through some stuff, man. And then I would feel so much ego and pride. Like I wouldn't even. It was like, how dare you? Like, but more, and we'd go after them. And so this is where things take a turn for the worse. Now, I don't know if my bad luck of constantly being locked up for half of all my 20s and half my teenage years was a blessing. So having all these problems with people and being constantly like shot at fights, and we're doing stuff too where, man, like somehow I didn't get a life sentence, somehow. And we go to a bar one night and we are thinking we're the big shots. Like we're loving it though, because we're so just wild. We think this is the coolest thing ever. Like we're living all these songs, all these movies. We think we're the real deal.
Right.
And as I would soon find out in life that no, there is consequences. You're going to meet the real deal soon.
Right.
So we're at a bar and we're in Broward County and it's in Fort Lauderdale. And like you guys familiar with that, Fort Lauderdale Beach, and we're having fun. We're buying the bartender, we're getting, you need new shoes. We're acting like we're like these big shots and we're like these just stupid teenagers and we're having fun. And lo and behold, someone did the old reverse Uno card on us. Someone had got the drop on us and it was probably the bartender made the call and said, those dudes are here. They're acting real crazy with all the money. So the people that we robbed, whoever they were, showed up there. I walk outside and I don't even know who these people are. And I'm always like ready for whatever. I have weapons on me constantly. Like I was living super reckless. And he says something to me. And I just thought it was a regular guy that was going to be a bar fight. And he's like, something like, where's my other shit? And I go, what? Like, what'd you say? And all of a sudden it turns into him swinging chairs. And I'm thinking it's just a bar fight. I don't know what's really going on right now. And I'm getting hit with a bat on the side of my head. My friend comes out. It turns into this huge brawl, this huge scuffle. People are fighting over here. Everything's just, it's crazy. And they're like, we're calling the cops. People are getting pepper sprayed, hit with brass knuckles. And someone's like shooting guns off. Boom, boom. And everyone's like scattering. And I'm still thinking this is a bar fight. So I was like, let's go, guys, let's ride. Because like we're messed up. I'm bleeding, they're bleeding. So I was like, whatever. We get in the car and this dude comes up and starts hitting my window. And I'm thinking, at first I thought I was gonna get shot. I was like, and then I saw it. He started saying something like, give me my shit, and I'm thinking like, and I roll down the window. I go, dude, it's a bar fight, man. What is your problem? And he keeps saying, give me. And I'm like thinking like, why? So I have a knife on me. I take it out and I put it up to his neck. And I say, motherfucker, I will kill you right now, dude. This is a bar fight. Little comes out. I don't know why he's doing this. And then we get in the car, we leave. I'm like, what an idiot, man. Like, what is he? It's a bar fight. And my friend's in the back seat, and he's like, dude, you don't know? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, those are those dudes that we robbed a couple weeks ago, man. I beat the shit out of one of them, and I took all his other shit too. And he pulls out like a guy's chain, he does his wallet, and we're not like chain snatchers like that. He just did it to be an asshole. And I'm like, oh, you fucking idiot, dude. Why didn't you? What? Why didn't you tell me this, dude? Why would you run in my car with a chain? And so someone that was still there that wasn't part of like us really, they were just kind of an associate of us. He's like, dude, you're fucked. They called the cops, said you put a knife up to him and you guys robbed him for his chain. They wanted to get their get-backs, dude, and they're not wrong for it.
And you've got a chain in your car right 100%. Now.
Once that happened, I immediately dumped my car, jump into my friend's car. And he's driving, and my friend Chance's there, and he starts beating the crap out of he's just beating the dog shit out of the dude who took the chain. Like, what the f is wrong with you putting, and he's just beating his ass, and they're going crazy. And I'm thinking, like, fuck. So we make it to my house. I'm like, all right, guys, I'll see y'all later, man. Just go. And I run upstairs, and I'll never forget it. My sister was there, and my mom, man. And I'm 19. And I run upstairs, and I open up my bed. I have, like, a stash spot there. I grab, like, a stack of cash. I grab a pistol and a bunch of, I think it was some weed and some other stuff. And I got this huge, like, navy camo blue thing in the middle of summer in Florida. I'm run down, and they're like, what's going on, Jeremy? And, and they're like, what's going on, Viking, whatever you want to call me. And I'm like, guys, listen, I love you. you won't be seeing me for a while. And my mom just was like so sad, but like, so I leave and I run, and I'll never forget it. My neighbor, who was like a good friend of mine, also a fellow criminal at the time, he's like, dude, I don't know what you did, but there's SWAT in here, dogs everywhere, helicopters, come to my house now. And I remember running, I'm running, and I see the helicopters and they're in there, and he opens up the garage and I slide in there, and I'm in there, and I end up giving him like $1,000, and I stay there for the night. I'm watching them all look for me nonstop. You know, they had me as like a violent felon that just pulled a knife out on a guy and robbed him for no reason.
Right. And now, what are you thinking? That you're going to go on the run for a while and hope it dies down?
Oh no, I'm all in now. I'm telling myself this is it. I'm screwed. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping.
But I mean, what is are you thinking like, if I can get away from these guys, then I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing?
So in the moment, I was just thinking to get away.
Okay.
So then once I got my mind cleared, and remember I'm 19, so I don't really have my frontal lobes developed there, you know. So my thinking was, all right, you know, I'm gonna go get a hold of the dude that took the chain. I'm gonna force him to go and admit that he took that chain and ran in my car. Because regardless, there's one thing you don't do, man, and we don't take people's chains and then run in a car. And the guy was like, they're taking pictures of my license plate, and he's just sitting there laughing. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get the chain back, and they'll drop the charges.
Right.
Right. That was how I was thinking. So, and I'll turn myself in, and I'll be all right. So, you know, and obviously, I find the dude, we get him, he gives me back the chain, and we end up working something out to where he admits that he didn't know I pulled the knife out, and I said I didn't know. He didn't know I had a knife, and I didn't know. We both admit that, and I was like, okay, cool. And now I'm thinking like, good, you did something good, man. You know, as much as a piece of shit you were for doing that, I mean, we're all a piece of shits, but you know, dirtbag on dirtbag crime, at least help. And I'm trying to say like, these guys are drug dealers though. They're like, yeah, okay, man. So he does that for me. I had a public defender. I give him that, and he's like, the fuck am I gonna do with this, dude? Some guy telling us that he committed a crime and you didn't know he committed a crime. This ain't gonna do shit, dude. And so my friend Chance went again after him and did whatever he had to do and got him to get me a paid lawyer. And I sat in that jail for probably a year, and I ended up maybe a little bit over a year in Broward. And basically, I haven't been caught yet. I'm still on the run.
I was going to say, but that by the way, that makes sense that like these are two separate events. Like like one is like I understand what you're saying. I don't know why your lawyer would have said this doesn't mean shit. That to me that means everything. Did I pull? You know, I had a knife. Did I pull a knife? Yeah, but it was only because this guy's banging on my window. It was a fight. Had nothing to do with a robbery. Because the moment there's a robbery and you used a weapon, I mean, you're looking at what, 10, 15 years in Florida, something like that?
It was a game changer. If that was the whole yeah. So that's why immediately once that guy, the PD, the public defender said that, I said I gotta get a lawyer.
Yeah.
So
you're
my friend,
help.
So yeah, the guy who initially did that, you know, he fucked up and he knew he did. He paid for a lawyer, and he's like, you're facing armed robbery. You know.
So let's go back before you didn't get arrested. I'm sorry.
So I'm still on the run now, and I'm everywhere. I'm just living from place to place, just whatever. And once I get everything situated, you know, and I have like kind of situated, I end up getting caught on the run, getting in a traffic stop, and I get caught in a traffic stop, and I go directly there, and my charge is armed robbery, robbery with a deadly weapon, battery with a deadly weapon, battery with a deadly weapon causing harm, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And the other one was conspiracy to commit armed robbery, as if we planned this whole event.
What is that? If you get sentenced, what is that?
I'm facing life.
Okay.
At 19.
Fuck. But you do have 2 prior charges.
Yeah. And they're all similar, you know, like MOs, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, holy shit. And at 19, I'm still like so, I would say, just so immature that yes, I'm like scared, but I'm thinking like I can't show any emotion. Like, so I'm in the jail now. I'm, you know, basic traffic stop, pulled over. They knew who I was. I think somebody told on me. They pull out guns, felony stop. They beat my ass, take me to jail, and I'm in there, and they put me in a high custody tank because I'm facing life in prison now at 19, and I'm like, fuck, man, like dang, like, you know, but whatever. I'm learning it, and now I'm in the adult situation now. And I'm seeing, oh, this is a whole different world. These are grown men that you know. So I am like having to like lose that young mentality of fight, because these dudes they're stabbing and they're waiting for you to go somewhere in a blind spot, and they're gonna, so it's a whole different calculated game. They're making money in here, so you can't just be acting reckless. And I'm learning this also while facing life. I'm just so it was the weirdest. I don't know how to describe it. It was like almost like an out of body experience now looking back, like being 19, thinking this is gonna be my life forever. I have no hope, nothing. And then at the same time, having to be there and be ready for whatever, because I'm 19 and I think these dudes are going to all try to victimize me. And I will never be a victim is how I had it. So I went the extra mile in that jail. And, it is jail, so it's not as crazy as prison, but these are all people facing serious crimes. They got red bands on, and which is like high custody. So I'm in there sitting for probably 6, maybe 14 months at the time. And they're not coming down. They're trying to sentence me to 14, 15 years. And I'm like, fuck, man, but I got the information. Like I'm thinking, why isn't this? And they're like, it doesn't matter what your history, you're out running with knives, you know. So they go and they say, listen, what we'll do is if you plead guilty to every single one of these charges, we'll do what's called a open plea. And we'll give you and you know what an open plea is, guys?
Yeah, I know what an open plea in the federal system, and I don't know anybody that's ended up well for.
So, yeah,
they kind of convince you, like, you'll go in for the judge, you'll explain the situation, the judge will just make the call, and then of course your lawyer kind of convinces you, like, the judge is going to he's going to see that it wasn't your fault, and it was just this isolated small event where it was a bar fight. He's going to understand. You could explain that to him. Really, your lawyer kind of knows, like. Like, bro, you're gonna get in front of the fucking judge. And it's gonna be he's gonna be like, you're a fucking menace.
Yeah, that's 100% right. And I was so young and naive, and you hit it right on the head, bro. Because I'm thinking, oh, they'll see it my way. Like they'll see that it was just a bar fight on my end, and I'll be all right, man. I got the stuff like that. All right, yeah, right. Like the fact that he's even having me open plea facing life was like crazy. Now, so we finally get to court, and this is when. One of these moments in life that you just never forget. And I go in front of the judge, and he's reading the stuff, and he's like, so, Jeremy, Viking, Mr. Viking, so you want to open plea to all these charges, robbery, conspiracy to commit armed robbery, I'm like, yes. And I'm thinking, he's like, don't worry, the prosecutor's going to put a good word in for you. You're good, right? But I'm so young and I'm naive that I'm thinking, okay, I'm good. And so I'm like, okay, cool. And he's like, so he's reading everything, and he's like, now listen, I can give you anything from time served today to life in prison. Do you understand that? Yes, sir. And then they go through the whole thing. Are you making this plea, knowingly, willing? They ask you, are you in drugs, alcohol? Yes. No, sir. Yes, I understand, and I'm doing it. And I'm thinking, okay, here comes the prosecutor going to come in. He's like, don't worry, relax. And I'm like, life in prison? What the fuck? Like I'm freaking out. And he's like, just calm down, man. And I'm like, all right. And the prosecutor goes, sir, we recommend that this man gets 22 years in prison. And I'm like, what? And I go, I thought you said we were going to.
That was the good word?
Yeah, no, that was my lawyer who said the prosecutor's going to, they all got it all worked out. Yeah. And I like, now looking back, I know that they just basically like sold me out like that. And I look at him, he's like, don't worry. He's still telling me not to worry, and I'm just like, I'm 19 going through this, like, I just don't know what to do. I don't know if I want to cry or just anger. I don't know what to do, and I'm thinking like, but there's still hope, So I'm like, maybe the judge will see it. So then my lawyer goes to talk, and he's just like, listen, we showed you, he's young. It's just the most basic thing. I'm like, tell him about the paper. He's like, and we got the paper where the guy says he did this and it didn't mean for this, and that's it. But tell him about this and what I have, my plans, and like, it's like the quickest thing ever. It was like over before it started. And I seen that, and I said, I got to take this in my own hands. So I said to the judge, I said, Your Honor, can I speak? And he goes, okay, just know, what you're facing. And he goes over it again about fate. And I said, I know that I messed up, and I know that I have to do time. I would just like to be able to come out at some time relatively young, or go somewhere where I can change, maybe a youth offender program or something like that. And he's like, well, we've already done that. We tried that, and, it didn't work. And he's like, he's like, so I'm looking here, and they're recommending 20 some odd years, and your lawyer really didn't give me a really good reason for your circumstances to this. So he's reading it, and it was like, oh my God, man. I'm like, this is it. This is my life now. And he comes in and he goes, well, I'm going to tell you like this, Mr. Viking. He goes, you're lucky. And right there, I was like, I'm lucky. I'm thinking like, okay. And he goes, there's a new program here. It's a youth offender, and YO in Florida is youth offender, where you get a one chance at it, where you can get, it's 1 to 6 years. You can get, if you're under the age of 23. And he's like, I'm going to send you to the youth offender program. You're going to do, I think it was, you have year credit plus 2, and you'll have to do the rest on probation. I was like, okay. But
so how much time did he just give you?
So it would be a total of almost 3 years. So it would be.
But you already have a year in.
Yeah. So basically, and then with 85%, I'm looking at like 20 months, maybe. Not bad, right? But YO is insane. It's just it's like horror stories, because there's no organization. There's no like it's just pure not fighting. I mean, they're putting broomstick up dudes' asses in there, and it's just insanity. It's like that. Like I described the direct file 12th floor. Like that on steroids. So I'm hearing all these stories like, do you know how to fight, man? You're gonna learn. So I get to the area, finally I go back to the jail, but to me, I won. I'm like, whew, I did it. And so now I've barely had any time free. I know the system. I know, I'm hearing these horror stories, but I'm ready for whatever. So they transfer me. I get there, and it's similar to that with like the drill instructors, but these are COs, and everybody's in there for serious crimes, and you get one chance at youth offender. That's it in your life. You can never get it again. No matter if you're a teenager and you get arrested multiple times, you get it once. And I got blessed that time, and I go in there, and boom, right at it. It was pure, just from the beginning, fightings, a lot of more stabbings. They had a thing called razor tag.
Hey fellas, do you want your grooming routine to be a one and done deal? Well, the days of using the same trimmer for your face and your private parts are over, thanks to our friends at Manscaped. Introducing the Beard and Balls Bundle, featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 and the Beard Hedger. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code COX at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code COX at manscaped.com. My old razor, it had a whole bunch of guards. It probably had at least 10 different guards. They've always got hair in them. They're all over the place. It's extremely messy. But with Manscaped, your guard is built in, and it's got 20 different lengths. Also, the great thing is it's waterproof. With the Lawnmower, you can say goodbye to endless passes. This trimmer gets it right the first time, cutting through the bushiest of bushes effortlessly while being gentle on your skin and your delicate places. In addition, it's got super safe guards, which help reduce against nicks and cuts. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code COX at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code COX at manscaped.com. No more juggling multiple tools or dealing with subpar results. Just efficient, effective grooming wherever you need it.
They had a thing called razor tag, where I you in the face, they go back, you're it, and it was chaos, and it was this street and this, and it was just fight after fight, extortion. That was the big thing, extortion in the Florida prison. And if you weren't had anything going and you weren't fighting, and immediately test the heart. They call it the TOH, or a heart check. You walk in there, and they'll try it. They'll take your canteen, your stuff, slap you in the face, and you'll have to line it up. And that's the term for you're gonna fight me, you're gonna fight my brother, you're gonna fight him, and after chow, you'll fight again. And it was just like, holy shit, man, going through this again, but even more violent. But I made it through, and I got out. And this time I thought, you know what? I'm gonna change my life, right? That's what I thought. So now I'm 21, 22. And I get up and I get out, and I'm like, all right, I got a little probation and stuff to do. And I'm like, I'm doing good now. And that was my introduction to real prison. Even though it was a youth offender thing, it was the most violent place I've ever been yet. And very corrupt. The COs will put people, in your cell or to fight you or your enemies. A lot of nasty games going on. But I had yet to see the adult system where dudes are making house payments on the inside, and they're going to kill you over that, over nothing.
All right.
And I get out, and I'm trying to do right, and I have the mind frame, and I meet this chick who's a stripper, and you know, she ends up putting me up to another lick, and I'm like, fuck, man, it's like this shoulder here, and I immediately I go from 0 to 100 within, I'd say, 6 months of me being out, and I'm still on it's probation. They don't have parole, but it's basically parole. And I just go on a robbing spree. I'm robbing every drug dealer there is, and this chick and I are like Bonnie and Clyde. You know, when we got arrested, they called us Bonnie and Clyde of Boca, and I'm just going crazy, dude. She's like the cute little like girl, and I was really turned it up now because my level of violence and what I've felt, like I had a lot more rage, a lot more I was diabolical, and I was just robbing everything. And we ended up there was a store that was a front for a drug dealer, and we robbed them, and they were after us. And then I went to go collect money at this house where there was supposed to be like the guy at, and whatever, it was a job for somebody. And she was like, I'm gonna go there, and I was like, just wait a second. She was like so pushing me to go. And I'm like, what do you rush? You? Like, she was like almost like doing the old, like, I need a man to come with me. Like, you know, like, and of course I'm a man, I'll go. So I go with her, and automatically I go to, it's like an apartment building, and I know something's not right. The guy's supposed to be here, nobody's here. And she's like, look, listen, they got the money in there. We're just gonna fucking take it. I got a key to the thing. And she starts using like a nail clipper, and there's cameras everywhere, but I don't even give a shit. I'm just wondering like, what's going on here? And I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, shut the up, just help me. And I was like, I thought you had a key. I thought it was like, and I see what's going on. And so we're arguing, and it's on video and everything like that. And I'm like, what the fuck, you know? And all of a sudden I said, you know what? You want to be tough. You want to be a gangster, you know, shit, you know? And I did all this time already growing up in the system, state raised. I kick in the door, I go in there, and there's a little money in there, but I realized that this was like not the right spot. This was all bullshit. And I feel like I find out later it was all set up. So we go in there, and I'm looking, and there's nothing there. We leave, and within probably 5 minutes, the cops are there, right on us.
A setup for what? To arrest you?
So let me explain it better. So the girl that I was doing this with had got caught with some pills earlier. And they're like, we know your man is the one responsible for all these robberies, all this stuff out here. And I wasn't robbing civilians. I was strict, but some of these businesses were fronts. Some of these places were, you know,
and the cops don't know when they get there if it's a legit
and
regardless,
business. You're breaking in, you know, and there's civilians that live in there, and they're like, so you're gonna go to jail. You're gonna lose your kid, or you know, let us know what's going on. So she's like, I think he might be going to this place. So her way of doing it was, hey, I know where some money's at. I know a place we can collect it. You'll get broken off. And as we're getting there closer, it was like, I see now she was buying time. And she was like, oh, we'll just take the fucking money. We'll just get the money. And I'm like, I was like, what? But I still wanted to go along with it because I didn't want to look scared to her or anything like that. And I love this girl, right? She was different. Right. And so eventually I kick in the door, and I realize that it's all bullshit. And I'm like, let's get the fuck out of here. And she's like, no, wait, let's take this, let's take that. She's like,
she's waiting for the cops to get there.
She's trying to take clothes, like shit that we've never done before. Clothes, what are you doing? And I'm like, let's fucking go. So we leave, and we don't get too far, and all of a sudden, they just come. The cops like swarm. I run, I get the out of there.
Did they follow you, or?
So I think they were either watching it,
or they were on their way.
Somehow, like they never put her out there like that. But in my mind, I know from the paperwork that she was an informant, and I feel like she told them where I would be at a certain time, and they got me there, and I got away. You know, I ran, got away, and hit off into this area I was living, and I was living in this freaking apartment building where the landlord was a dope fiend, and I would just pay my rent with whatever drugs I stole. And so I could just hide in this apartment, that apartment. I told him what was going on. He's like, go in this one, go in that one. And I'm on the run, just hiding from place to place. And all of a sudden, I would say a month of getting away, maybe a little less, I hear a knock on the door, and they say, I'm like, who is it? They're like, it's Timmy, or they just say a name. I know it. I look, and it's a 2-story, and they got everywhere surrounded. No, you remember, I'm 22, man, and like, again, here I am, like, in another situation. They're like, SWAT team around, guns pointed everywhere, and I'm like, fuck, and they're like, listen, you're done, you know, and they're like, they come in, they arrest me, take me down to the station, they flip the house, and there was shit in the house that wasn't even mine. I got charged with all of it, like everything that was in there, from weapons to all types of shit, dude. And on top of it, they bring me down to the station, and they show me the recording of me kicking in the door. And I was like, oh, whew. In my brain, I was like, that's it. And they're like, oh, no, she's over there telling everything right now. You're fucked. You're going down. And they, you know, I'm like, I want my lawyer. I mean, I don't do the snitching shit. I don't. And plus, there's no talking your way out of it. They don't come in with a SWAT team to let you go later on.
Right.
So now this is my introduction to manhood. Now it's real. You know, there's no more. No. So this is where things get really, like, this is where my life. To me, this was a blessing, but what I went through, you know, in the end, it justified the means, I guess you would say. But I had to really go through this to really get to the man I am today, the father I am today. So I'm arrested. They take me down to gun club, you know, and while I'm there, I have a case in Broward County. Broward County, something with battery on a law enforcement, resisting arrest, that I didn't even know where this was. They bring me there. Why I'm there, in my mind, I'm already committed. I'm 100% all in. This is gonna be my life. I just completely cut off my family. I remember, like, I had picked up the phone or something, and they were like, yeah, I'm in traffic, man. I can't take it. I'm just thinking, I just couldn't relate. This is my life forever now. That's how I feel. I'm never going home. I've burnt all my chances, burnt all my family. It's over with, you know. So I'm in there, and I'm waiting to get this case resolved, to go to Palm Beach, to go take my prison time and go start the rest of my life. And in there, my friend comes to me that I know, because this is in my town, you know, relatively close. And he's like, dude, you see who that dude is? And I'm like, who? And he goes, he's such and such. And what he was doing was he was putting cameras in the kiddie bathrooms at a local park that, you know, we all grew up at, and selling it on whatever he was doing it on. And one of the kids that could have been a victim was a friend of the family, my family. And so I make a decision there that, you know, this was my first time really seeing chomos, and because, like, in the juvenile and all and that, you don't really see that too much. It's more just young kids that are fighting, robbing, stealing, maybe a couple here, but it's mainly just all like drug dealing. And so this was like, I was like, you motherfucker. And I felt it was my duty to do this, make a name for myself, because now I'm going to the adult system for a very long time. And I remember I talked to the trustee and the officer. And I say to him, I say, what's up with dude? And he's like, yeah, that's him, you know, confirming. I said, can I get some help? He goes, yeah. He goes, just make it happen quick. So they had it come up with the trustee, because we're in jail, and the trustee are the ones that serve the trays. They're sentenced to like less than a year. And that's only in jail. You know, they don't really have trustees in state prison in Florida that I'm aware of. And they cover where the officer could see with with all the trays. And I go up to the dude and I say, man, what are you, a chomo? He goes, what's your definition of a? And I go, you know what the I'm talking about, motherfucker. And you know, and at this time I'm state raised, so I've done thousands of, you know, like, I'm grown up in the system, so all I know is violence and push-ups, dude, really. And he's like, this was a hustle, man. This was a hustle, man. And I've beat his ass from fucking pillar to post. And you know, finally, about after 15 minutes of it, he's in the shower, just completely bloodied out. And you know what, dude? I regret a lot of things I've done in my life, but never when it comes to someone who hurts women or children like that. I don't give a fuck, dude, ever. And so they come in, the officers, they cuff me up. They bring me in the room like, you took it too fucking far, man, you fucking idiot. And I'm thinking, like, I took it too far? You guys are helping me do this, but I don't say that. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I'm just keeping quiet. And they put me in like a isolation unit, like a confinement, basically. And they're like, yeah, man, you're gonna get outside charges. You fucked him up. And I'm like, whatever. And I'm sitting in there, going to these little court dates. And I can't believe that they're even doing this in my mind for a fucking chomo. And that's the mentality, though, that I had, is I should be able to do what the I want if I believe the reason's right. You know what I mean? That's my thinking at the time. So I eventually, it was like they were trying to offer me a plea of like 3 years. And I was like, no, I'm going to trial. There's no witnesses. And then he ends up forgetting what happened and saying he doesn't remember me or anything like that.
Right. So they dropped the whole thing?
They dropped the case, and then I got that hold off me. They send me to Palm Beach. Get to Palm Beach County Jail now. Now I'm facing the home invasions, the burglaries, the armed robberies, all in the drug dealers. And that's when I get my discovery and find out, yes, that girl was an informant. She had set me up, and charges that I didn't even know I was going to get charged with were because of her. and it was fucked up, you know, and things that they found, she testified that they were 100% mine when they really weren't, but who can say they weren't? And she testified to only get a year on her time.
Right.
And that's what it was. So I was like, all right. So here I am. And they left me in the holding tank for like, I'd say 2 days, dude. And they kept interrogating me. Tell us, we got recordings, tell us. And I was like, man, like I'm built different. I told them because I had that mentality of that youth criminal, you know. And
well, what is the benefit to telling them, to admitting to it? I mean,
well,
are they saying
they're trying to think I'm like this young kid that's gonna be like, just tell us what happened, dude. Like, because I'm
doing
guilty,
the whole,
and like, yeah, dude, and we'll help you get to rehab or something, whatever you. And I'm just like, dude, can I go back? And so they're like shocked that a young kid is like so callous to the system. And I was like, you know, and so I go back. Finally, they bring me to where you go outside of the holding tank, like, and they put you in basically a transitional cell or a unit where you're going to go to based on your custody. And I got labeled with max custody, and it's called the East Side. They call it the jungle. And I was like, holy shit. And I remember they're like, all right, we're going to call names.
But you haven't been sentenced yet.
No. So, okay, let me explain it better. I'm sorry. So in gun club, and when you're on the adult side, you basically, you go in, and after you get through intake, you go into a unit where they kind of do a mini classification.
Yeah, okay.
And then they, based upon your charges, your case, your you know, your level of you know, management, they put you in a unit based on that. And you're only in there a couple of days, and they call your name and they say, you're going to this, you're going here. And I'm like, all right, I'll just go. I'm thinking I'm gonna go to the easy side, and they put me on the East Side, which is literally chaos. And I'm gonna get into that right now. So as soon as I go there, I remember a dude I knew, he's like, oh man, boy, you're fucked, dude. You're fucked, dude. He's like, I hope you, oh boy, and I'm like, and I'm thinking like, man, dude, like that was my mind then, you know. I didn't care, like nobody could tell me anything, right? And that false bravado. So I remember we walked to the unit, and I'm looking, and there's no officers anywhere in sight. Their thing is down, so they can't even look in there. So I'm like, what the heck? And it's 2-man cells, and I'm thinking, oh, a dude can get beat to death. So these stories are true, what I'm hearing, and this is just jail. And so I get in there, and I remember I'm with another white guy, and he's like, I ain't going in this motherfucker, I'm checking in. And I'm thinking like, what a bitch, dude. And now I look back, I'm like, shit, he was right the whole time, dude. But obviously I wasn't a check-in, and I was ready for whatever came my way. And this is the first time I've ever been in a place where there's no assigned bunks or anything like that. So I'm walking with my stuff, and I'm looking in the cell, and they're like, not here, white boy. So I go down to the next cell, and the dude's like, not here, bro. And I go, here, unless you're gonna pay. Like, and so I'm like, holy fuck. So finally, this cool Mexican dude's like, man, you come in here, bro. So I come in there, and I put my stuff down, and he's like giving me the runaround. He's like, listen, dude, I know it's county jail, but this is serious here, bro. You got dudes fighting death penalty cases, dudes facing life prison. Like, this isn't anything to play with. They're robbing cells, you know. So he's showing me, and we were talking. This is over a course of like 3 or 4 hours, and he's showing me where the knives are at, and he's like, don't, if you're on any like pussy bullshit, any weak mind shit, coward acts, dude, we'll you up, dude. You understand? I was like, I got you, bro. He's like, you bring anybody in here on that bullshit, we'll you up. And they're part of an organization, some like a Southern Mexican organization, whatever they are. You know, that's who they are. And so I'm seeing the chaos. It's just unreal. And one of the first nights I'm in there, they beat the shit out of this kid so bad. And the way they come and count, I just couldn't believe this, because I was used to like the structured system. Now it's like they come in, they're like, all right, you guys all here? All right, cool, boom. And they walk out, the officers, and they go back to doing. And they tuck the guy in. And it took like almost a day to realize he was in a coma. And it took him out. And it was just like, I was like, okay, this is the real deal. And I was like, let me try to see if I can get bonded out. I remember getting on the phone. Right. Yeah, so this is like the day after. I call my mom, and I say, hey. And she's like, hey, babe, how are you? You know, I was like, good, mom. I was like, so you think I can get bonded out? She's like, your bond's like 100,000. Like, what do you think? No. She's like, you need to stay in there and suffer the consequences. You're not getting out. Yeah. I said, all right, I understand, mom. And while I'm on the phone, a dude says to me, he goes, hey, let me get a 3-way, Billy Cracker. And a 3-way, if you know, people don't know, it's basically back in the day, you would have the other person that you're calling on the prison phone, jail phone, make a call for you. Right. And unless you know that person, that's very disrespectful. And cracker in Florida isn't like a bad thing to say. Yeah. But it is, you know what I mean? It is obviously racist, but it's not as bad as people think from other states. But the fact that he asked me for like a 3-way, didn't know me, and said that while I'm on the phone, it was automatic grounds. We have to fight. So my mind is still on the youth offender mindset, the juvenile prison mindset, where we go in the cell, we fight one-on-one, and we go about it. Like, you know, and that's how it is, you know. And or if it's other shit, it's always usually a one-on-one, or we make it happen, but it's always usually like controlled. So I walk into the cell, I was like, what's up? So I was, all right, mom, I love you, bye. Click, hang up. I go, what's up, dude? And he's like, what's up? What's up, white boy? Let's go. So we go into the cell, right? And this was the first mistake I made, but obviously I learned after this one. And we get in there, and we're strapped up, put your shoes on, and we square off. Boom, 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 boom. We're fighting in there, and all you hear is squeaking of the feet, you know, boom, slapping of the face. And, you know, he's getting the better of me, but I'm landing. But, like, I'm trying to make a point that I'm not the one. I'm going to be here for a while. And all of a sudden, I feel like this hit in the back of my head. I don't know if it was a lock or a rock or whatever it could have been, but it was something that wasn't a fist. And I didn't get knocked out, but I was like my legs were weak, and I just saw the stars. And like 3 of them came in the room of his friends, and they just started boom, 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 jumping me, hitting me with whatever weapon they had. And I'm just like getting just completely jumped, and I'm swinging wild, boom, boom, boom. And I remember I grabbed one dude's head, and we fell back into the, we fell back like that. And like, we're between this little wall and the toilet. And like the dude goes and he goes to football kick me, cause I have his friend and my face is right here,
right?
And his friend's here, and I'm like poking his eye, I'm biting him, I'm like literally like, I'm like, this is bad.
Fighting for your life.
Yeah, dude, like just straight adrenaline. And I remember like putting my finger in his ear and like just giving him baby, like I'm not letting him go. This is my own, all I got. And the dude goes like, get off my own, boom, and he kicks me, and I go to block it with this hand. And it ends up like, I didn't know at the time, but he completely dislocated, broke this whole entire like wrist, and finger was hanging off like this. And I was like, and he kicks me again in the head, boom, football kick. But I'm still holding on to the guy, and they just keep, they're hitting it. I'm still just kind of somehow the adrenaline, and they're like, yo, let's put his head in the toilet. And basically a thing they do in Florida, they call it flushing your soul down the toilet, is especially if they don't like, they do it to like, people that are like fighting back, like it's fucked up, but like they didn't like that I was doing this. That dude was embarrassed that I was like just getting him. All his friends were beating my ass, and he's like, put his head in the toilet and just kick it in. So they were gonna put my head in the metal toilet and just stomp me to death and flush it. They call it flushing the soul down the toilet. And I don't know, just the adrenaline, the rush or whatever. I just and I get up, and I'm just kind of backing out of the cell, boom, boom, boom. So like it was just that, like you hear how like the moms lift up the buses or whatever. Right. It was that same type of thing. And I just never felt that much. Like the most dangerous person is someone that's in fear. Right. Not scared, but fear. And it was just a power. I never even knew I was this strong. And so I back out of that cell, and I'm just fighting my way out. And like I'm not feeling anything yet. And dude that I was originally fighting, he's like coming towards me, and we're squaring up again, and they're coming there too. And they go, one time. The officers are coming in to do the count. And I'm like, all right. So like that adrenaline dump comes, boom. I go in the cell. My roommate is the Mexican dude. He's cool. He's like, hey, you're a warrior. My accent, dude. I'm not really good at accent, but he's like, hey, white boy, you're a warrior, dude. Right. Holy shit. And I ended up finding out later, but I had a broken orbital bone, completely my thumb's right here. It's all messed up. I'm bleeding everywhere, and it's all setting in now. Like I'm the adrenaline dump.
Right.
And he's like, yo, we gotta hide you though. And when they flick the light, so you have about a minute or so to kind of get it. Some guy's mopping up the real quick, like, and everyone's going in the cell like nothing happened. And he's like, let me fix you up. And he's taking a sock and he's trying to sew this thing, but it's so gashed. And he's like, this thing ain't gonna work. And he's taking like a sock string with a needle, fucking probably almost, luckily I ain't get no diseases, right? And he's just trying to get through it, and it's not working. And he's looking at me, and he's like, just go under the covers, bro, and pretend you're sleeping. So I'm like, all right. So the officers come in there. He's like, all right, man, everybody good? Everybody here? And they're like, yeah, man, yeah. It's just crazy, right? And this
is a horrible story.
Yeah, it's a horror. It's a horror story. Okay. And anybody that's been there will contest. Like this, is how it is in gun club. It's very like the South Side isn't like this, but the East and West is just brutal in the 12th floor. So I get out off the bed, and he's like, hey man, you're a warrior. We respect you. He's like, but these motherfuckers. It is what it is. He's telling me basically I should go to medical right now, check in basically. that, man. Look at me. Do I look like I want to check in now, dude? I almost got my head flushed down the toilet, dude, you know? And he's like, all right, bro. So I get out, and dude's like coming up to me, and I was like, let's go back. Let's run it again. And he's like, nah, man, we're good, right? And he's like, bro, this went too far. He's like trying to tell. I was like, no, that, dude, let's run it. Come on. So everyone's standing there, and he's like, all right, then let's do it. So we square up to run it again, and he's got all his partners with him. And like, they're kind of like, we're getting closer, and then like, they kind of stop. And I'm like, what the fuck, you know? And he's like, nah, we're good. I'm straight. And like, then I realized, because obviously my peripheral vision, everything was, I'm bleeding out my ear, everything, is that his group, the Mexican, his brothers and everything like that, the Southsiders, you know, they were standing behind me, and they're like, nah, bro, you're going to give the white boy a one-on-one. He's a warrior. He already showed it. He'll fight. And in my head, initially, I was thinking, like, where were y'all at before, man? But it's politics, you know. They want to make sure, if, you know.
Yeah, I was just saying, but they didn't know you were.
They didn't know my charges. They didn't know anything about it, and they didn't know I would stand up, and they didn't want to lose face, you know. And they're standing there. They got knives in their hand. One dude's facing the death penalty, you know. And they're like, you know, so they basically fall back. And I was like, all right. We go back to the side. He's like, bro, you're a warrior, bro. He's like, we respect you, dude. He's like, you'll never have, I mean, you'll get one-on-ones and this and that, but you proved it, bro. We got your back, da-da-da. I'm the only white dude in here,
right?
Period. You know, the other white dude was the one that left in the coma. And so like, you know, but I didn't really have any hate at that time. I just felt like I was doing time, because in the juvenile and stuff, they don't push that ideology on you like they do in the adult system in prison. So I'm in there, and about 4 or 5 days go by, and they're like, that white boy is crazy, bro. Like, I'm walking around, thumb is hanging off, and just, you know, and he's always trying to gash it up. They're using like string, and it's just getting worse. And I'm like fucked up, like, and you know, like after a car accident, you don't feel it, but like later on,
yeah.
So it's that thing, but except an ass whooping to the highest degree. And my thumb are in the cell, and I'm talking to my bunkie, and he's like, bro, you need to fucking get some help. So since my thumb was broken and dislocated, and the bone was like coming a little bit out, it had staph infection on it, and was turning like greenish.
Oh, man, you could lose your whole hand.
Yeah, and I'm leaking out of my eye, and I could go blind from my eye. Like like in fights, like that's why they stop it, because it can make you blind. And my ear is bleeding, and I'm fucked up. But I have this false ego, and I'm like, I ain't going nowhere, dude. He's like, dude, you're gonna lose your fucking hand, dude. You don't have nothing more to prove, bro. He's like, you just fucking went through hell, dude. And I mean, come on, bro. Think about did you want to lose your fucking hand over this bullshit? I go, all right. So they come in. I was gonna say,
you're trying to impress a bunch of guys that you will never see again, and don't give a fuck about you.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. And then I think an officer came in, or somehow I talked to him, and he's like, I was like, I gotta go to medical. And he's like, what the fuck? I was like, yeah, I fell in the shower. And he's like, you know, I'm gonna keep it real though. I'm not a rat. And he's like, so he's like, huh? And I was like, yeah, man, I'm fucking detoxing. I fell in the shower. I had a seizure, you know. And he's like,
in your hand?
He's like, you've been here like a month now, almost, like, or however long. You're detoxing, like, it doesn't make sense, you know. And he's like, whatever. So they bring me down, and the craziest shit is like, they're like, so they got a chair. Let me rewind. So he's like, just tell me what happened, dude. Tell me what happened, bro. It's all right, bro. Just tell us, dude. Let's get him the fuck out of there. And I go, I fell in the shower, bro. Come on, bro. I gotta live here, bro. Come on, man. Why are you even asking anymore? So he's like, all right. So they're like, just sit here for a minute. We'll get you some help. And they put you in what's called, it's like this black chair. And the more you move, the more they could wheel you. And it gets like this to the point of tight. And they're putting me in this with a broken hand, and I'm bleeding everywhere. I'm like, what the fuck? And it keeps tightening it up, and I can't move. And they're wheeling me around like, tell us. And they're showing pictures of each inmate. And I'm like, I can't see shit, dude. I failed. What are y'all doing? I need help. And finally, a corporal came in there, and they're like, what the fuck are you guys doing, man? Take this kid to medical, dude. So they go, and they took me to I went to outside medical. Yeah, I went to outside medical, and it was like the local hospital, because my thumb was the bone was out, and the stitches, they didn't have the type of care they needed. And I remember going there, and they were trying to snap my finger back into place with the bone. They finally get it back. They wrap it up, and I get the stitches, and I had a staph infection on the bone, bad, my knee, ribs broken, nose broken, just fucked up. I had something, not a bone in my ear, but something got inside my ear, and I had to put like the fluid out of it. It was a rough one, dude. And so they put me on the west side wing, which is the medical. So I think I'm gonna do easy time now, all right? Like, I'm like, all right, I'll just heal up, be all right. Nope, that's Florida. They love this violence in the state system, at least. And I'm in there, and I'm taking a shit, and I already learned how to do everything, you know, shitting. Like, I have one, like, you have your short, like, you don't have both of your shorts on your ankles. You got one off in case you got to stand up. And this is an open bay. It's medical. So, like, you're really not expecting violence in there. And I'm taking a shit in the thing. And all of a sudden, dude walks up and punches me right on the shitter. And I'm having pretty much my first butt naked fight. And we're fighting right here, rolling around on this dirty floor. And, you know, the guards monitor, or the officers monitor the medical wing a lot more than any other unit because, you know, it's a medical wing and people die or they have seizures. So they can get a lot of lawsuits for not doing it. So they came in real quick and broke it up. And it turned out it was one of the dudes that jumped me in that whole chaos. And he happened to just be in there. I don't know if they sent him there or whatever happened. So that happened and we fought and eventually I healed and I got sent to another wing and I fought maybe 3 or more times, probably, but same dudes, the whole crew of them. And finally it's my day to go to court and take my time. I had been here now a little bit over a year now, maybe 14, 15 months, and including the Broward with the Chomo and now to here. And I'm finally getting ready to go and I have a lawyer and I'm like, all right, cool. Because my mom actually was like, listen, you need to go to prison. You need to learn your lesson, but I'll get you a lawyer. So she gets me Mr. Magoo. Literally, dude looked like Mr. Magoo. He couldn't, I thought he was blind. I really did, dude. And he's like, yeah, I think we should go to trial. And I go, dude, they got me on camera kicking in the door. What are you talking about? And he goes, well, what about a open plea? Open plea. That's how he talked. Open plea. Open. Like, I'm like, what? Open plea. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking? He literally just looked just like Mr. Magoo, what's that? Neil, whatever that comedian's name is with the white hair. And I was like, open plea. I started like having flashbacks again. And he's like, well, dude, it's either we go to trial and we explain why you shouldn't, or you do the. And I'm like, I'm kind of screwed. And I was like, well, what's the state offering? 17 years. So I'm like, so I gamble. I say, I'll do another open plea. Let's go. And I go, I'll get time served for the Broward, right? And this. He goes, yeah. I go, okay. You know, but obviously I'm just like trying to compartmentalize. Yeah. So we go to court finally, and I'm in there now, and I'm an adult now, and they're reading my, you know, I have a horrible history in the jail.
This is a different judge, though?
Yeah, I'm in a whole different county now, and this is Palm Beach, and this is for the case where I was robbing with the girl who was the informant.
You kicked in the door.
And so with her and I, she had already like put a sworn statement on me, took her time. She had been gone home already probably about 3 or 4 months into her thing, so like a year ago, and from that time, a year prior. So I'm like, so they got the statement. I'm like, I'm fucked. This is it. And so I go there, and it's just my dad and I. And my dad's in the, you know, like the area where the civilians can go, and we're there, and I'm talking to the lawyer, and he's like, I think we're gonna be same situation. We're gonna be all right here, man. And I'm thinking like, this man can't. He looks here, but he's really trying to look here at my file, like literally Mr. Magoo. And the state goes up and they say, Your Honor, we just want to know, or he asks, what do you guys recommend? He gives me the whole thing. You know, I can sentence you up to 47 years in prison based upon or I can give you the same spiel again. And I was like, yes, sir. And so he goes, I want to hear from the state first, and then we'll hear from you guys. So the state goes, what are you saying? So I'm thinking they're going to just 17 years is what they're going to do. That's the worst case scenario, I'm thinking maybe. And that's what my lawyer told me. But I'm like, okay, I could do 17 maybe.
Well, I thought the 47. He can sentence you up to 47.
He could, but he's like, they either are going to go with my recommendation, the state's recommendation, or somewhere in the middle. Okay. So I'm thinking the worst I'm just probably compartmentalizing it again, knowing that. But when he said 47 years, I felt like I had to take a shit right there in my pants. Right. But I'm just like, whatever, being stoic. And I'm thinking the state's going to come out with the 7. He's like, I already talked to him. He's going to recommend the 17. And again, you know, and this is, you know, I learned the system the hard way. And he goes, I'm going to tell you this. We want to offer him 32 years in prison. He's been armed robbery, and he's always causing violence. He's caused violence in the jail. He's caused violence in the youth offender prisons. He's been through the youth systems. He's been through the boot camps. He's been through the programs. He goes, this kid has been basically raised in the state. You know, we brought in, and he brings in a officer He was Officer Wallace. And he's like, and this guy, I can tell you, who he was a sergeant when I was in that program. And he goes, I basically raised this guy right here, Viking here. I raised Jeremy here. And he goes, he needs to go to prison for as long as possible. He will reoffend. And I'm like, they brought in, yeah, dude.
Jesus.
Yeah, dude, it's fucked. And but again, I'm being stoic. Or maybe I'm just numb, dude. I don't even know what's going on. I'm just like whatever. And that's how I'm like, I just remember feeling nothing. Like this, like it was one of those things in life, like I said, where it's like, this is all that matters. There's nothing else in the world that matters right now except this second. You know what I mean? No problems has ever existed. Anything this is it. So I'm just like, oh shit. So then my lawyer speaks, and you know the state's like, you know, he has 30 years. You know, we're willing to go maybe 28, maybe. You know, I'm just like, so I'm like, he's like, well, we did agree on 17, Your Honor. Sits back down. I'm like, So I realized I from my previous experiences, and now I'm a little older and wiser.
You're better off talking for yourself.
So I say, so, Your Honor, can I speak? Yeah, I go, because I got to take control of this situation. I go, Your Honor, can I speak? And he goes, are you sure? You know, he's giving me the rundown of what could happen and it could be used against. And I said, yes, sir. I mean, at this point, you know. So I go, sir, I know I have to go to prison. I'm not asking to not go to prison. I'm 22 years old right now. I know I have to go to prison. I know I've been raised in the system. I know I'm wrong 100%. All I ask is that I can get out before I'm 35. That's it, sir. So I can have somewhat of a life. He's like, all right, respect it. You have anything to say? Ask my dad. My dad's like, just know, man, I love my son. He's a good kid. And I also know he does have to do time, but I would like to, you know, spend the rest of my life I have left as I have kidney failure with him. Okay, cool. So they go, and he's like, well, let me review everything. And it was like the longest 10 minutes of my life. And it's like, and I'm like, tell him about the other case with the file, with the guy that wrote. He's like, nah, don't say nothing. And I'm just like, let's do it. Let's just run it. You know, I'm fully committed now, and I'm just ready to face it, you know? And so finally, after like 10 minutes, it felt like forever. And he's like, all right. You know, he's saying, I made my decision, and I sentence you. And he's like taking his time. And he goes, hold on, we need some more information about this armed robbery. Fuck. So another 20 minutes go by. He's reading the entire armed robbery case from the original one when I was a juvenile. I guess they didn't put that in there from when I robbed the drug dealer when I was on house arrest when I went the first case I ever had, or the second case that sent me to the level 8 program where I brought the guy over. So he's reading that. He's like, wow, you brought someone to the house on house arrest. Like, I can't even sentence you to house arrest. Like, I'm like, it's all the way. So I'm just sitting there waiting to go, this is it. This is my life. And he finally goes, all right, I made my decision. State, I heard yours, you know, everybody, blah, blah. And he goes, talks to me. He's like, stand up. And, you know, you made this. He gives me the whole rundown again. Did you know what you're doing? You know, yes, sir. Yes, sir. He goes, I sentence you, and I'm just waiting for it, to 6 years in the Department of Corrections. And I go, oh, thank God. Thank God. But I don't say anything. And I'm just like, good. And I go to my lawyer, I go, and ask him for that time served, you know? And he goes, can he have he goes, absolutely not. He goes, that was for a whole different case in a whole different county. You ain't getting none of that. So I ended up doing 7 years on a 6-year case.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, but like, to me, I'm relieved, dude. You know what I mean? And I've already, you know, I spent pretty much my whole life already locked up. And
open pleas were working out for you.
Oh, I'll never again, you know?
Yeah.
But so I go, and I get there, and they put me in the unit where you wait to go to prison. And it takes about 2 weeks, and they take you, and, you know, you get on the bus, you go to the reception center. Now, this is probably the craziest shit that I ever experienced in my life. And I know that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Because this was like some kamikaze missions where, like, the way the Florida Department, I don't know how it is now, but the way the state system is, it was just like a Gladiator, like shit. Like they literally get off on the violence and the amount of corruption and the dope that's coming in there and the cell phones and the COs that, like, if they don't like you, they'll put you in the cell with a notorious or a rape booty bandit, you know, and they'll have you guys fight in the cell in confinement 15, 20 minutes, no air conditioning. I mean, it's rough, you know what I mean? So, you know, I get there, I'm hearing the stories, but I've been through this already. I've been through the system, And I'm like the #1 draft pick, is young kid, state raised, in shape, and every organization is trying to get me, but I'm not trying to do all that right now. And finally, I'm going through South Florida Reception Center. Then they send me to Orlando Reception Center. And the higher you get in Florida, the Panhandle, the worse time you're gonna do, because the Panhandle is the most violent. That's where they send the worst of the worst, and at that time at least. And so all the reception centers is South Florida, which is Miami. You have Central Florida, which is Orlando. Then Lake Butler, which is Jacksonville. Then Washington, which is literally on like Pensacola, and then you go to your main camp there in the Panhandle. So I'm in a whole different area or time zone, and 12 hours from my house, and I'm hearing stories. They're like, man, you better hope you don't go to HCI. It's like literally walking over the dead bodies. And I'm like thinking like, nah, so I'm on the last thing, and of course that's where I go. I get there, put my stuff down, and it's like first they do all the, you intake, they're looking through all your shit, and you see them, they just beat the shit out of an inmate for just even mouthing off. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is for real. So I get there, and there's like, you can just feel the tension here. This is not a game, this isn't youngsters, this isn't the jail, the fifth fight. Like I could just see that it's just a cloud of hell. I feel it, And I get to my unit and immediately put my stuff down, get situated, and the dude comes up to me and he's like, "What's up, dude? Like, you bang, what's up?" And he's asking me what I'm in here for, and he's like trying to confirm it. And I guess he confirms it with the CO or whatever. My paperwork's good, whatever. And he's like, "Listen, dude, we're part of this group." And then another. So like all these organizations are coming up to me, and it's always mental warfare. Like it's even asking for a cup of coffee. They could ask once, twice, and say, "Oh, you ain't gonna give us a cup now?" Oh, and that turns in. So like I'm very well. I'd say groomed in this world as I grew up in the state system, state raised. And a dude comes up to me that I've known through the travels, and he's been here already for a while. And he's like, "Listen, bro, he's like, this organization is fighting with this organization. They're extorting all the white dudes that aren't part of any gangs or cliques, dude." He's like, "This group is going with this." He's like, "That CO is corrupt. He'll get you hit. They're doing hits. They're doing this. It's full on war." He's like, "Here's a knife. We'll be out working out, da da da." And he's not part of affiliation. He's just politicking, And I'm like, dude, here we go. And so I get to the yard, and I'm finding out what's going on. And you just see there's stabbings going on, just chaos coming on. So the first incident I get in was probably, I'd say 3 weeks of me being there. And my bunkmate, my cellmate, he worked in the kitchen. And he was like selling whatever he was selling out of there. He was getting metal objects and sandwiches, whatever he would to hustle. And as you know, and other people know, in prison, if you become whoever your friend is, it's not just who you are, but if something happens to him and you do not protect, like react, like if someone tells on him or steals from him or he gets jumped and you just let it happen, you're next. You're just as, you're going to be targeted because it shows you're weak, you're not loyal. It's just part of the politics where I was at least. And I guess a guy told on him about the sandwiches, and this guy was more confused than a billy goat on AstroTurf. He didn't know if he wanted to be the head or a crip or this big old white dude, jacked, steroid, just walking around. And I guess he ended up getting him locked up in like a real slimeball way where he was like, "Man, get this dude out the kitchen. He's fucking with my hustle," right? So I get told that, and I feel the pressure, especially being young. And I told myself I will never be a victim like that again. That ass whooping I took, I'll never go through that shit again. So I catch him coming out, and I just come and straight hit him. Bing! And I remember his tooth being in my hand, and I was scared to death when I hit him because he's bigger than me, and I was just like, whatever. But the fear of ever going through that bullshit again, I told myself. So I went in there with that mentality of I will never let that shit happen again. I will strike first. Wherever it happens, it'll happen. And I hit him, and he comes like he's gonna fight me, and he just kind of like is wobbling, and then he just turns off and starts running towards the CEOs. And we both get cuffed up. I get sprayed, and they take us to confinement. And as we're walking, this dude is covered with blood. I got blood all over my hand, so everyone sees this, and they're like, "Holy shit, look at this, this JIT." They call him like JIT, And they're like, "Look at him, man, super JIT. Look at him, look at that dude. He fucking hurt." So everyone's like expecting now me of this. So I go to confinement. And first you go to AC, which is administrative confinement, where you go to the kangaroo court, and they go, all right, you know what you did, and basically, you know, they have a captain as the judge, and
right.
So he goes, we're charging you with battery on an inmate, and we're gonna sentence you to 4 months in confinement. Boom, right? And I go, oh, all right, cool. And I get back to the cell before they take me in my cell. He's like, oh, you're fucked, dude. 4 months, dude. So I didn't really understand what he was saying. I get to my unit, and they get on the other side. And in confinement, it's like a butterfly. It's an H dorm, and it's set up like the letter H, where you got the catwalk there, and you got cells all the way through, and you're locked down 24/7 in Florida. Like, you might shower maybe 2 times a week if you're lucky.
Right.
Obviously, there's no air conditioning, and you could go to yard, but they might call the little dog cage maybe once a month. So it's 24/7, and you're not getting any canteen. You can't even have a book. You don't get shit, and it's like the hardest time I had to do, and not so much because of those situations. I mean, the toilet paper, I ended up having to wipe my ass with my bed sheet, and I ended up for real washing all your clothes in the toilet because, dude. They go and they have maybe a handful of toilet paper, 1 roll for 96 men up there to last, 1 roll. So like you have 1 little piece. So by the end of when you got to turn in your linen, whenever they come collect it, I have it looks like a baby's blanket. It's like this big, but yeah, it's wild. Dudes are themselves back there. COs are throwing the inmates off the top tier. Now in disciplinary confinement, you have other unmanageable inmates in that unit. Some are like CM control management, 1, 2, 3. Some are chomo that are housed alone because they've been hurt. And you got disciplinary unmanageable inmates like I was at the time. And what they were doing is basically, I don't know if they were getting hits on these people or what was happening, but you know, a CO would come and talk to you and say, hey, I talked to such and such, and you know, showers, like, we're gonna accidentally put you in that cell over there. Or sometimes they would just put someone in your cell and they would gamble on it, knowing it would cause issues. So the first situation that I got caught up with was there was a chomo, a child piece of shit chomo, and he had some very, very heinous fucking charges. And he would always be fucking talking shit through the thing to everybody, like, motherfucker, like, I do what I want. Like, you can't, all you, like almost like, come on, bro, you're cell warrior, huh? So the COs, he kept writing up the COs, and I had got a letter from another inmate that I was very close with, and he wrote it in piss, urine. And for people that don't know, that's, you know, once you dry it out, you can hold a little bit of heat to it, and the soot will turn into what it says. Flush it, and it basically said, it's okay. Basically, assume the guy that's going to talk to me is okay. CO comes to me, he's like, what's up, Viking? He's like, listen, you're going to accidentally be put in that cell. He has to go. You know, we got you. You talked to, what's his name? Yeah, we're good. So all right, pack it up, you know, and it's CM. So your cellie has to go against the wall, face down, face the wall while you cuff up through the sally port. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget it. I'm going in there, and this dude has hit. Like I said, I never regret anything I did to people who hurt women and children. And he's definitely hurt. He checks all the boxes as the worst of the worst. And as I'm going in there, he's like, you can't put him in here. I can't have a cellmate. Like, all that tough shit went out real quick. Mm-hmm. And I get in there. And, you know, I beat the shit out of him, just dog him out. And they don't come back for 15 minutes. And they come in there, and I didn't know they had to put a whole show on. And they come in there and they spray me, beat my ass a little bit, rough me up, throw me in the burning showers, and they put me in the cell. Add 4 months to my time in confinement on top of it. But somehow I got blessed with a little bit of money and whatever. And but in my mind at that age, I'm that dude. You can't tell me nothing. I just did that. You know what I mean? And I felt proud. I got rid of one of these chomo piece of shits. And on top of it, like, I'm showing, not knowing, like, how deep I'm getting into this world. So then I would say 3-4 weeks go by, and, you know, you're seeing, it's insane back there. It's like they almost put the most, like, demonic officers back there on purpose, I believe. Mm-hmm. And a lot of cell extractions where, like, they'll come in with the 1950 camera. I mean, it's just horrific. The COs are throwing inmates off the tier, like I was saying it was a seizure. They're beating them to death, and it was just nonstop chaos. And you got guys in there that are gunners. You know.
Yeah, we know. I've explained.
So you guys know what gunners is to watch. And it's so bad in there that they'll put a magnet on these guys' cells window because they just can't stop.
Yeah.
And you'll look through the ground, and the little bit of space between the cell and the floor, there you just see a shadow like that. Like you're like, what the fuck? So they end up putting a dude in my cell, right? Who is I guess there for one reason and one reason only. They gamble on us at the time. You know, they're like, it's fucked up back there. And he comes in there, and immediately we just start getting after it. And we fought for 15 fucking minutes, dude. And I didn't know that I thought this dude was just like trying to like me up and whatever, for whatever reason. I didn't know what it was. But I later found out that the officers, the GED teachers, they gamble on us. It is insane. And 15 minutes of fighting, blood, sweat, and it's not, you know, it's violence. It's not fighting, you know. So, you know,
15 minutes to fight like a minute long. What I realized in prison was if you fight for a minute, that's a fucking eternity.
It's eternity, dude.
It's so, you know, when you see 5 or 10 minutes, like that's like both guys have to stop and breathe for a little bit and then go back at it.
Dude. Yeah. You're right. And it was like and like you said, there's no like ring. You're not like moving around, and it's just it's just a straight like there's nowhere to go, except forward. And we fought, and it was just sweat, and we're slipping in it, just boom, 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 boom. The COs come in there, and they grab us both, beat the shit out of us. And they ended up, I had like scar tissue still here, and it busts open. They fucking hold the pepper spray in my head, and they're spraying it in my head, dude. Like not my head, but right in the cut on my eyebrow. And they're just squeezing and squeezing. I'm burnt. They're kicking his ass, you know. And it's probably 5 seconds each can, kicking the shit out of us. And then they bring us in the hot, scalding shower, and it's burning on us again. And it's like, boom, put us back in the cell. So I ended up staying back in confinement, going through that situation. And I probably had about 4 incidents where I gladly will admit I fucked up some chomos, and I fought one other dude that they sent at me. But a lot of it was always going after chomos. From what I heard, allegedly they were taking money to go after these dudes from a family's victim or whatever it was. And that I gladly would raise my hand to do every single time. So
I know in California that this was fucking 20. This is before I got locked up. That like something like 15 or 20 officers in California state prisons got arrested.
Yeah,
because they were putting gang members. Into, you know, and they had the controlled where they're not walking anybody. They're one door is open, another door, and then they just tell you go into this cell or go in here. They'd open another hallway, so they could arrange it without being there to where suddenly, boom, 2 rival gang members are in the same.
That's
and
what
then they lock it, and then they just bet like I'm telling you, he's got it, and they had him on film and everything.
Oh, dude, so that's you're 100% right. That's very similar to what was going on there, except the way they got caught was so fucked up. So I got out of confinement after almost about 8 months, basically, and it was like, you know, it was like holy shit, like I you know, and I'm back on the people are like, dude, I thought you like left. So I was like, no, I'm here. So I'm back on there, and you know, a little situation pops off, and it's basically like a kamikaze. The officers are so brutal back there, and it's in this camp, dude. Like they're just, and it turns into like a kamikaze mission where we know it's a losing fight. We know, but all we have is the fight. Mm-hmm. So we just kind of just all snapped in the dorm. They're just constantly fucking with us, ripping our pictures up, and we flipped the dorm upside down. And you know, I went to confinement for this little riot thing that happened in there. And now I'm prepared for confinement. It's fucked up. And I go to a new like a unit, and I'm in confinement now, straight there, and they sends me to like, I want to say 30 days or 20, something around 30 days, about a month. And I already know what to expect in confinement. And because I wasn't the initiator of the riot, but I participated in it. So I got something like disobeying a verbal order or some dumb shit. But anyway, they sent me there. But I know how it goes. I'm not going to get out of confinement. And I remember like, this is where I cut off every single person in my family. I stopped writing them. The girl that was riding with me for a little while, I just cut off everybody, returned to sender, because I didn't think I'd ever go home. Like I saw what was going on here, and I was like, I'm never gonna go home. And we're back here, and they're doing like you said, like they're putting members, like certain organizations that they know will fight, or they're making it happen. It's constantly violence and chaos, and then the chomos are just getting the shit beat out of them, like left and right, throwing off tears, just kick their heads in. But like you said, a lot of gang members or rivals are getting put in the cell together and they're just going at it, 15 minutes. And then they'll come back, pepper spray them and redo. It's like rinse and repeat. Except this is where they up is there was a dude named Ricky Martin, not the singer. That was just his name. And he was also a little bit more confused than a Billy Goat on AstroTurf. He didn't know really, he was 22 doing maybe 2 or 3 years. And it was some drug related charges and he didn't know how to do time. And he wanted to be cool, but he wasn't tough, but it was just a young kid mixed up, So he would mouth off to the officers. But this was a place where, this was like Clanland, man. Like they didn't like me because I was from South Florida. You know what I mean? Just because of that, dude. And he would be real like reckless, just talking shit. So instead of them just giving him a little ass whooping, they bring him to confinement. I'm in confinement. Everyone's there. And there's a notorious, and anybody can check this out on Google. I mean, there's a notorious, booty bandit, an inmate guy who takes their manhood. He's killed 2 people, and he's a savage. He's known for that. He can't house with anybody. And their idea of teaching this young kid a lesson, who's about to go home in 6 months, is put him in the cell with that dude. So you could see Ricky, he's begging not to go in there, begging. We're all looking like, oh shit. And then, and like, this is where I was like, man, I'm never gonna make it home. Like, this is like that moment where I realized, I was like, this is my life forever. And so they put him in the cell with him and he's begging and screaming and pleading. And then you hear the dude saying, shut the fuck up, dude. And the officers are laughing, just pushing him in there. And he gets in there and, we all can't really see what's going on because he covers the window up with toilet paper, but you hear the beating, you hear him getting assaulted in the worst way possible. He's getting his manhood taken, and you hear the beatings. And every time he's saying some type of some racial injustice that happened, and he's saying that name of the person that was killed by a police officer, whatever it was. I don't know exactly what he was saying, but he was saying a name like, say, like Malcolm X or whatever, as he kicked his face in, and like just beating him It's went on for 15 minutes, and they come in there. And he was brutally beaten and, raped to death, And they took the other guy out and he just got, I think, life sentence maybe. Or I don't even know. He was already doing life. So, whatever it was. But, but whatever it was, he was never going home anyway. So that was just another whatever. And it was an obvious hit, the guy was not supposed to be in there. And the family is calling. Like, what's going on? Like, where's my brother? He's supposed to be, They find out finally he's dead. And they're like, what the fuck? They go and they're like, how the fuck could this happen? And so now the FDLE come in and they're investigating. And they start shipping everybody out of confinement, putting people on the compound. Basically, like, they don't want anybody to be there, Right. And they're shutting it down too. So like half of the wing got shut down. People shipped to other camps and, it was fucked up. And I ended up being one of those that were shipped to another camp. And like, because they didn't want the people that were in confinement to ever say what happened because they were being investigated.
Right. 2
of the officers were arrested. One committed suicide. And I think the other one just resigned. Then
nothing happens to
ever.
Them. Yeah.
It's just unreal. But that was the real deal. So I was like, okay, this is getting serious here. So I go to another prison, and it's called Washington, which is a brutal spot. Washington Correctional Institution. It's in Pensacola, and I'm still in confinement. I get out of confinement, and I meet some people that I know from where I grew up, and we're talking, and they're telling me about what's going on here, the politics, because every prison in Florida, it's not like how it is in Cali or other places. It's like a different country every time. Like, this might be this gang's, this race, or you just never know. There's no set thing. There are rules and things that are unwritten, but as far as who runs what or who's got this, you just never know what you're getting into. So they're kind of giving me the rundown of what's up. And okay, so we're working out, going about our business, and this is where I run into one. I talked to my friend to this day. He's locked up. His name is Spawn. I gave him the nickname. He's like a little hell spawn. He was doing 3 years for dealing in stolen property. And he's like, hey man, can I work out with you guys, man? And he seemed all right. He was a little closer to my age. So, and I had like knew what he probably was going through as I had went through the system. And I know I had been now a couple of years. And I was like, yeah, man, we run as long as you got good paperwork and we run him, make sure he's good. Yeah, it's stolen property. Cool. So he's working out with us. And, one day he pulls me to the side and he's like, listen, dude. He's like, there's a dude in the dorm and, he put his finger in my ass. Like, I'm like, what? This is prison though. Like nothing ceases to ever amaze you, dude. And I go, what? He goes, yeah, man. He goes, I'm gonna kill him, dog. I'm gonna fucking kill him. So I'm like, you don't want to just whoop his ass, man? He goes, nah. How can I do that, bro? What? Then what? What if I lose the fight, bro? You know? I was like, all right. So we had talked about it, and he told me the story. The dude tried him in the shower, did a little fucking swipe on him, like tried the fuck out of him. And dude was a notorious, like what he does is he goes after weaker inmates, and Spawn was a little short, skinny dude who he looked like Harry Potter, basically.
Right.
And he was like, man, I'm not doing it. And I couldn't resonate with it because I never went through that, but being jumped and everything I went through, hit with locks, and everything I went through in confinement, I told him I will never be a victim. I don't care if I have to do a life sentence or whatever happens, I will never be a victim again. So I understood what he felt, that rage, that pain, the violation. And plus, you have to live here.
Right.
So we would talk more, and a lot of inmates would say that, like, oh man, you'd be home soon, home. But I explained, I said, this is home, dude. This is home now. Like, this is where we eat. This is where we sleep. This is where we shit. Like, what are you going to do? Get abused for the next years and say, oh, when I get home, and then go live with that shame and of what happened to you, And I'm like, you guys got to stop thinking like that, man. This is home. You have to accept this is reality, dude. It's not like you're doing, you got years to do. This man has been tried, and, it is what it is. If this was anybody else, so they're kind of like, yeah, you're right. So we were like coming together with a plan. And like, this is a long time ago, and it's done with and everything, but he wanted to get him in the chow hall. And he wanted everybody to see it. And
right.
This is a little skinny kid doing 3 years, right? And 3 years, dude. And I wanted, and I got it, because like if you lose the fight, then what? You're screwed, literally. Or it's a riot. It's like it's a catch-22, or you don't do anything, and then the worst happens. It's you lose or you lose, dude. So he took it like, dude, I'd rather be, in the way he described it, as a warrior than, nothing hurts worse than being a coward. You can lose a fight, you can get tried, but being a coward, dude, that is the worst feeling. That never goes away. And he had a pregnant, or she just had a baby, and so like it was sad to see this, but at the same time, I get it. This is the world that they create for us. So in order to get any type of weapon into the chow hall, you can't really get through. You have to go through a metal detector. They strip search us. It's a higher level security prison. And we reach out to somebody that works into the chow hall, another inmate, and have him put a knife with a magnet on it underneath the like where you get your juice or whatever from.
Right.
And the plan is, because I was like, brother, you have to do your own work here. Like I'm not, I got your back if anything jumps off, but this is on you. And he's like, no, I know. And he was like, I never, like, you would never expect somebody to be this determined. But that's why in prison, you never know who you're fucking with. It could be the most quiet, chill guy that'll cut your throat in your sleep. And we, the day arrives, and it's like, oh shit, man, like my adrenaline's pumping, and we get through there. And I was like, I got the green light that the knife was there. We see the guy, and there's like 4 of us that are on like backup duty in case something happens, he fumbles or whatever, so he doesn't get jumped or anything. So we make sure we walk to the juice. I walk with him. The knife's there. I tell him, like, I give him the sign that it's there. He grabs the knife. He's walking up like he's got his thing. He just immediately, like, the rage and anger just explodes in him, and he starts hitting the dude. And dudes are trying to like get up, and I'm kind of there, just like causing like a little like back, but he's hitting the dude like you can hear it, you could smell the blood. I smell the blood to this day. Like, it was just everywhere. People are slipping, footprints, it just everywhere. And this dude's like intestines or whatever, guts are like kind of coming out, and the COs immediately jump on it, and he kind of like was like, what? And he cuts a CO's arm, dude. Ugh. Yeah. And so they detain everybody, and the dude's guts were out, and he ends up getting a staph infection, almost goes into a coma. He lives, but since he had cut the CO's arms and did a brutal stabbing in front of the whole unit, dude got 27 years onto his sentence when he came back.
For a 3-year sentence turned into 30.
Yeah. And that's the fucked up thing about Florida is, like, the COs they put you in a lot of bad spots. Now, obviously, this really wasn't on the COs, but they put you in spots where they know what had happened to Spawn, right? And they put that man in the cell, in the unit with him. So you know what I mean? Like to almost add insult to injury. It would have happened regardless. So, you know, he gets 27 years and he never flinched. He never flinched at all. And the main reason he got it was for slicing the officers. Those were the main things for the, because of that. And obviously the stabbing, but they gave him the most amount of time for the officers, which is, you know, crazy. But so I talked to him pretty regularly, and he doesn't regret it one bit. He's a soldier with it. You know, he's in lockdown CM. He's behind that wall for the rest of his sentence probably. And from there, I did a little time in confinement, but nothing really. I mean, I was just there, you know. And I get shipped down south to Belglade prison. And Martin in Belglade, it was fucking crazy over there, but not crazy in a way that like it was like I was coming back from, like, I was shell shocked, dude. Like I just couldn't believe this. And I go there and I walk into the unit. I'm now transferred down south. You know, this is almost by Miami, so it's like a whole different vibe. You know,
right.
And this is the first time I saw like pounds of drugs, cell phones. Dudes got PlayStation portables. You got COs that are in there fucking inmates for money. I mean, dudes are making thousands and thousands of dollars. The officer lieutenants will come in there and drop whatever you want in there. I'm like, holy shit! It was like, and I saw a lot of fist fights there, but it was the corruption that it was just unbelievable. Every teacher, everybody was just making money, and there'd be fights over who controls what. But for the most part, it was a only situation because there was so much money to be made that unless you really have an issue with somebody, you know, and that's what that kind of was. And it was the easiest time I did, even though it was the most corrupt place, but I was able to kind of decompress from everything I had went through up there in the Panhandle. And I got real, you know, I always read, I always was disciplined, always worked out, and I just kept getting a little bit deeper into knowledge. I didn't have to worry about like where I was at. I mean, always worry, but dudes were chasing the high and so much money and so much drugs that, like, my biggest thing was I was sneaking sandbags to do weighted pull-ups on the stairs and shit. Like, right. I was really just getting into maturing now, you know? And we're in there and things are going good, and I end up causing a hunger strike because I was in a unit and something happened where they were going to give a guy an award for what he was doing as far as reentry, and they were going to bring pizza for us, and the inmates stole our pizza, and we did a whole hunger strike and had us not go there for like the chow hall, and it was a whole thing with the news, and they ended up shipping me back up to the Panhandle now, and I'm like, fuck, man, it was like going back to prison is what it felt like, and so I get to Holmes Correctional, and I'm on the main line, the main unit. And right here is where I run into my friend. He's a gangster disciple, white dude, and you know Florida's like, as far as the gang politics, like there is racial stuff, and there's a lot of, but it's like you have white Crips, white Bloods, white GDs. You know, you got white Latin Kings, but you have the gangs, and they're much more organized where I was at here. But it's all different races in these different organizations, which was very like eye opening to me. I never knew that. And I saw my friend I grew up with. He's like the high-ranking GD here, and he's telling me like, listen, you know, there's an organization called the Cutthroats, and they're from Jacksonville, and they're known for extorting people. That's their whole thing. They'll you up. They don't say, hey, give me this. They cut you and take all your shit, and they'll extort your family at home. I mean, there's some bad dudes. And a friend of mine, Flex, who I became very close with, he passed away recently. But anyway. He picture a 6'5". You ever seen Dust Till Dawn with George Clooney? He's got the tribal, the negative like that across his arm. 6'5", 250 pounds from Polk County, and so he was like, him and I, we hit it off instantly. And my friend gave me the rundown. Who's the GD? He's like, dude, they're extorting all dudes that aren't affiliated, and be on point. So I'm like, all right. So immediately I'm in the dorm. And we're talking to Flex, and he's telling me, he's like, yeah, man, it's fucking bad here, dude. He's like, they're stealing, robbing, everything like this. And, I'm like, all right, so it is what it is. So the first thing that I notice is that there's a dude named Inky. He's a tattoo artist. And Inky is probably the softest dude I ever met in my life. And these dudes are just slapping around, getting tattoos, taking all this money that people are paying for tattoos, all the gangs, right? And I remember him asking me, like, hey man, how are you? I was like, dude, why are you letting these dudes fucking try you, bro? What the fuck is wrong with you? He goes, don't you see what's going on here, brother? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, these are the stupidest motherfuckers you ever see. They think they're bullying me, but I'm putting ink in their body. He goes, you see this? This is hepatitis blood. This is fucking shit, piss, this, and this. And he's just inking these dudes up left and right. And it's like the old, like Sun Tzu, like be weak when you're strong and strong when you're weak type of saying. Like he's pretending, like he's like, I'm not a fighter like you, dude. I don't want to do all that bullshit. So I'll just pretend like they're extorting me and I'm giving them every single one of them. I'm like, holy shit. He's like, I call it the Black Widow. And I'm like, fuck, man. And COs were getting tattoos and I was just like, wow. But that also made me think, wow, this group, this organization is pretty crazy. Like they don't give a fuck. Like they're willing to extort somebody that's putting shit in their body. Right. So they'll do anything. So I would say there's probably about 50 people probably that walked around that probably found out they had some shit later on in life for that. But I mean, you're bullying the tattoo artist and it is what it is. So he ends up getting shipped out, whatever. Dudes were getting massive infections. It was crazy, like seeing all that. Like that was some real treachery. You know, I have a whole story about that. But to get into this situation, Flex and I were like, dude, can you believe this shit, man? We got a tattoo guy poisoning all these people, the CEOs. You got people extorting. You got another friend that just stabbed somebody and like for over like doing 27, like crazy shit, dude. Like, and we're like, dude, we knew the day would come, you know, but we were just trying to work out and hope they, you know, they mind our business, and leave us alone. But they come up and they're like, listen, y'all gonna have to start paying rent. And it was one of those moments where like, who, me? Like, who are you talking to, dude? And he's like, he pulls out his like knife and the shit was a fucking lawnmower blade. And he's like, and one thing I'll say about my friend Flex, you know, he was as solid as it gets, dude. If he was your friend, it didn't matter what it was, dude. He'll you know, a lot of people talk that shit, but he had your back to the end. And the dude pulls it out and he's like, y'all run that shit right now. And I guess Flex told me later, he's like, the fact that he didn't you, dude, he wasn't gonna you. So Flex hits him, boom, and immediately a whole thing pops off and we're getting jumped, boom, boom, boom. I get hit right here, a little like it was. I found out later. I didn't know. I thought it was a punch, and I feel like the warm and cold at the same time coming down. I'm like, oh shit, and I'm like panicking, but it's a whole chaos going on right now, and it's all over some freaking oodles and noodles and ramen noodle soups and honey buns. Right. But it's the principle, you know. And like they say, and Flex is over there fighting. They're all hitting him like little bee stings. He's getting hit, locked on his face, and you know I got stabbed, and me and this dude and I are fighting, and it's just getting crazy. And the COs come in there, they come in with their little squad and pepper spray us, put us all down, and like boom, they take us away, go to confinement, and I go in confinement. I have a cellmate, he leaves, I heal up, stitches, everything I stabbed. I get like 20 days, whatever, in confinement, and guess they put in my cell. Literally one of the dudes that was in part of the fight. Him and I immediately, it was like literally as soon as the CO walked away and he uncuffed, we just went right after it. Another 15-minute fight of just pure and this and that. And this dude's another situation. But now I'm a little older and mature and I understand like, oh, I could end up spending the rest of my life in here over these CO's entertainment. But I have no choice. You know what I mean? This is where I started to say to myself, like, I need to break this cycle, man. But I you know, it was like, how though? You know, I've built up all this bullshit already to where I have so many enemies, so much of a reputation that I have to withhold. So anyway, we're in there fighting, and I just remember thinking that, like, fuck, man, this might be it. Where I spend the rest. We're going at it, doom, and he's getting the better of me. But like that, he runs out of his wind, dude. He has no endurance, and I'm hitting burpees by the thousands a day, like just ready for this moment in confinement. I live, you know, I know what's going on back here. So he gassed out, thank God, because if not, I would have got the shit beat out of me. And I end up like double leg taking him down and just beating the shit out of him. COs come in, take us out, and you know, another situation. I'm back there in confinement for about a few months. Get out, go on the main line, back at it again. So now I'm out of confinement, and it was like, in my mind, I'm really like starting to mature But at the same time, in prison, the second you start to say, I'm not like, you're looked at as weak, or he thinks he's better. You know, if you go into religion, or you're soft, or you're checking in, you know. So it's like, I'm trying to manifest a new life for myself and swerve away from all this evil and that I've been groomed to live, but yet it's all I know, you know. So I'm slowly trying to manifest into a better person, you know. And
how much more time do you have?
I think I have at this time about 2.5 years left. Yeah. So I know, yeah. And this was a blessing in disguise, I guess, this situation again, dude. So I'm like really just like manifesting a vision of, I want to get out and I want to get into training, kickboxing. I want to compete. I want to put honor back in my name. I want to have a family. I want to have a, like, so I'm making this mind. And I ended up, you know, competing in 11 amateur fights, and we'll get to that. But so I'm putting together, I'm manifesting like a vision of a business, getting into a gym and training and just like getting into it. But I'm also having to politic here and deal with the consequences that I've already created over the years of being state raised, and enemies and just people that I've friend, you know. So as time goes on, I'm thinking like, oh shit, man, I might be able to just get up out of here, man, and get a transfer down south again and just chill, man, and make it home and get certified as a trainer, maybe like send in some correspondence shit. That it's like a prison, ask and you will not receive, you know. And the thing about prison, especially in Florida, is time doesn't exist, only opportunity, you know. Dudes will wait years, dude, to get at motherfuckers. And whether however it is, you know, there, you know, they don't see the time, as you know. And this incident was really like, I was blessed here and actually got to get away from this prison. So we're on the main line going to yard, and a friend of ours, a mutual friend, it's Flex, and a few of us are there, and he's telling us about this dude who I guess did some real bad shit to his sister out there, and he's in a fucking gang. I don't know. He's a blood. That's what he is. He's a white dude. He's a blood. And I guess my friend, his sister, the white blood did something, like beat the shit out of his sister, and they happened to be at the same unit at the same time. So he's like, I'm gonna get at him, right? And this dude's a Mexican dude who is the white who hurt this man's sister is a Mexican dude. So all his brothers and all, like, you know, a lot of the Mexicans, they stick together. You know, they're tight, you know, as you know. Yeah. And when they found out, they're like, whatever you want to do. And this was like my friend and also like Bunky, like area, like in the same dorm basically. And I'm like, all right, whatever you need, bro, I'll ride with you, dude. So we go out there to yard, and they're coming up with an entire strategy, and they're like, look, bro, it's gonna go down. And on the yard, you know, you got the gun tower, but you know when something's gonna pop off. But it's like you just see this group over here, this race over here, you know, everyone's everywhere. And so, you know, the COs are waiting, they got their guns in the tower, and we're over here, and it was like they had him by the racquetball court, and he asked for the one-on-one. I guess they arranged it between the Mexican dude and the blood, however they rate, and they start going at it, but it soon starts to get closer and closer and turns into a full-on like little mini just brawl. Everyone's fighting, getting hit with locks, slicing, and within, I'd say, 10 minutes, the COs are shooting. You know, they got the gun tower, and they got us all laying down.
Get on the ground.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And I'll never forget this, man. The Mexican dude, he's next to, it's not the dude that beat his sister up, but it's one of the dudes that was involved with the fight, which to him, it is all the same, I guess, in the moment. And we're all down, and they're kicking up knives, and they're looking, and I'm on the racquetball or the handball court, and it's hot as shit, half on the grass, half on the handball court. And I look over, and I hear, and the Mexican dude is on the ground like this, stabbing him over and over, either on the ground, just hitting him, and he's screaming, but it's like, I never seen a dude get and scream, but he's like, ah. And then the voice comes out later, and the is just pouring out, and like the CO sees what's going on, they get him under control, they kick it away, they beat the shit out of him, get him removed, and just get everybody away. But they keep us on the ground, and while I'm on the ground, the is just coming closer and closer to my face. But I have no choice. If I stand up, I'm gonna get shot or beat, you know. So I'm sitting there and just just rolling all over my face, dude. And it was like they locked us all up, put us in confinement. And again, I'm in there. But this time, I get transferred quick, out of there. I'm back down south. And at that moment, I'm going through the reception centers, and I hit South Florida Reception Center. And South Florida Reception Center is in Miami. And that's like, so the way Florida is designed is, so say you're going to go to a prison in South Florida, you got to go to the reception center first, you know, or if you're going to go in Central Florida, Region 1, 2, 3, even Panhandle, you got to go to a reception center first. And what makes it so bad is now I'm short timing, you know, I got less than maybe 14 months now. And it's like, you're in there with guys that are just getting in there that have 30, 40, 50 life sentences, you know, guys that are just straight and everything. And then you got guys with a year and a day. So you don't know who's who or what's what. And it's like a dungeon in there. You got to reach it. There's rats this big. You got to reach into the wall to turn on the shower. There's no, like, you're in the, like, the cells, or there's no COs that are coming to save you. Like, if you're in a fucked up spot, dude, you'll get found in the morning. Like, it's bad back there. And this is when I get into my cell and I'm putting my stuff down, and there's a Latin King dude that I knew well, real respected dude, solid dude. And he's like, oh man, you got fucking Freddy Krueger as your or Krueger, whatever, the horror dude.
Yeah, Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, Krueger. Yeah.
He's or like Jason Voorhees or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, that's your celly, bro. And I go, what? He's like, oh yeah, dude. He's like, that motherfucker there, bro. And in my mind, I should be going home soon, man. But this is the energy you put out. You put it out there, you're going to get what you're looking for. And I've been putting it out there for over a decade. And, you know, I can't be surprised that I keep falling in these situations that I put myself in. And who knows if it's a hit from an officer? Who knows if this is a situation? You just never know in Florida. It's the COs are worse than the inmates. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, dude, in Broward, he's like, he woke his roommate up. He's like, it's time for breakfast. And he's slicing his face. And he's like, he's psych. He takes psych meds. But in Florida, there's no more like institutions where, you know, there's no mental institutions. You just go to a camp where they give you medicine. And he's a psych, you know, and that's South Florida. It's a psych camp. And he's just getting sliced. And not everybody there has psych problems, but since it's a reception center, so he's there. And what he did in the jail was, to get the nickname, was his cellmate while he was sleeping saying, it's breakfast time, bro. It's breakfast time, bro. Hence, you know, Freddy Krueger waking him up with a nightmare. So this Latin King tells me, he was a good friend of mine, about everything about Freddy Krueger and what he's doing, and he's psych, and he's slicing people when they're sleeping, and which is scary. And he turns out to be my new cellmate in South Florida, where you can literally be in the cell and they won't come find you till the next day. So I understand adversity builds character. And I had a lot, you know what I mean? I had a lot of character building time in there. And, you know, nothing grows in a comfort zone, as they say. So I definitely had a lot of growth.
I feel like none of this applies. Like, you still don't get to stick me in a cell with a guy that...
No, I agree. And...
Oh, I wouldn't sleep.
So, like, sleeping was out of the question. It was, especially from what I knew, what I've been through before, there was no way this is going to go down. There's no way it's not going to go down, excuse me. And I basically just talked to the Latin King a little more. And, you know, like we talked about earlier, like the laws of the universe. When you are raising your hand to do this fights and stabbings and constant chaos and robbing drug dealers and doing all this, you can't be surprised when this is in your life now, you know? So I was not shocked. I was like, I don't know how to, like, it wasn't scared. It was like, I got to survive, but I was like, here we go again, you know? So I talked to the Latin King, and he helps me get a knife. And I'm only passing through. It's reception. So I'm not trying to be there too long. And unfortunately, I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm going to be stuck in South Florida now forever. And I get in there, and, you know, it's very, you can't tell an officer, because then you're snitch, you're done. And you can't not go in the cell, because then you look like you're checking in and that. But then it's like, it's either that, or you go in there with a maniac who people's face, or you see him and then risk a life. So it's a catch-22, you know, regardless. So I made the decision that I have to go in there, and I'm gonna hold this knife and just sit up, and just maybe this guy changed his ways. Maybe he had enough adversity and grew character or something, dude. Obviously, the mindset was I'm going to stay up all night with a knife in my hand and make it to chow and see what happens. Or I'm just going to punch him in front of the officer and get moved out of there. Something I said, but I'm going to figure it out when it happens. I'm going to read the room, because people say a lot of things also, you know, and over the course of me being in prison, I've known that people will say something about somebody, get them attacked or hit up, and then you find out it was just their own personal vendetta.
Right.
But no, this motherfucker was crazy.
Okay.
And yeah, so we go in there, and I remember I'm sitting on my bunk, he's sitting there, and it's like I'm in there and I'm just like sitting up, and he's like, and he starts saying things like to himself and like kind of going off, and I'm like, huh? And he's like, what the fuck, man? You ain't gonna eat the food? Or he's just saying something to me like that. And I immediately am like, fuck, I should have just punched him right when we got in here on the officers. But you know what? Here we go. It's too late for all that regret. So I get on the wall, and he's kind of by the door, and you know, it's like a cell. So you only have like this much space, you know, and it's just straight collision. And he's got a freaking, and I got this little knife on me, and it's like one's scared and the other one's glad he's scared, because he's like inching at me, and I'm like trying to get it, but I don't want to have to stab this dude, but right. I don't want to get either. So it took about 30, 40 minutes, maybe longer, of us like having a verbal exchange of him saying like a lot of crazy accusations, like I'm stealing his food, that I refuse to eat, I'm poisoning him, like things were getting crazy, and it got to the point where, okay, here we go. So then, you know, I'm on the wall, he's by the door, and we're at each other, and he's reaching at me with trying to me, and I'm like trying to block it, he's in my hand, you know, and like you could just see like little scars from like all over my hand, just little red marks all over. This one too, just forever, dude, just little. But I'm like this, and he's not like, I'm so happy that he's not really trying to do it. He's like almost like scared, like I said, and I'm glad he's scared. And I'm like, damn, do I hit him? So I'm like getting him back with the knife, but not really trying to him either, because I'm gonna go home soon, but it is what it is. So things are getting closer and closer, and he's trying to me now in the face. So now we're moving, and I'm trying to him now, and it's become now like a serious situation. It was already serious, but now it's like, oh, he's trying to kill me now. He's not just trying to scare me. And he's going at me, slicing, and we kind of like lock up, and we're wrestling like this, and his hands here. I got the underhooks over like this, and we fall, boom, and we're just going after it. And by the grace of God, we didn't get like no 15, 20-minute thing. A CO happened to be doing their little walk by, and immediately came out, pulled us both out, sprayed us, called the unit, and you know, they wait a little while. So like they have to wait for a backup to come before they can just rush in there, because obviously we have a fight, there's a weapon. So I'm like holding him kind of like half on the floor, half on the like ground, or on the wall, excuse me, and it's like this, and he's trying to get me with this, and I got the knife, and it's like, and I'm just thinking like, where's these fucking officers? and he's like trying, he's got that like crazy strength, and like we're kind of moving, he's getting up a little bit, and the sweat's coming, my hands leaking everywhere, and so like at that moment, I'm like, dude, I have a shot to where I could hit him. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to punch him. And I just start punching him in the face. I have the knife in my hand. I'm punching him. And he's still trying to get me. And I got like one underhook like this. And he's trying to get me here. And we're going back and forth. And finally they come in. It felt like an eternity, but it was probably 4 minutes or something. That's a long ass time to be bear hugged with a dude trying to your arm. And they come in there and they pepper spray us. And, you know, they do their whole thing, put us in handcuffs. And I go to medical. And I ended up like getting a staph infection in my hand. And it was the worst, because South Florida is just disgusting. And I didn't get in any trouble though. You know, I think maybe they put me to like AC confinement for a little while and healed my.
He has you're all cut up. I mean, he clearly attacked you, but you shouldn't have had the knife.
Yeah,
right?
That was the whole thing, exactly. But they were like, almost like, man, we would like, they were like almost saying it without saying it, like, we wish you would have got him out of this compound for good. Like, you know, saying,
and you would end up getting another fucking 5 or 10 years or whatever.
Yeah. And so I was like thinking like, what the fuck? And so they put me there, and I was in AC confinement, and my hand healed from the staff, and I get transferred out of there to the prison down south. And I'm finally like, okay, I'm at a reentry prison, chilling. And it's like that. The more south you go, it's like so much drugs and it's unreal, the corruption there. Like the corruption up north is just violence, chaos, just it's just like demonic almost. And down south, it's like dudes are on the phone with the officers, like, hey baby, come by my cell later, you know. And It's like they're pimping them out. It's just wild to see that, and it's like two different worlds. But I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna this up this time. So I'm in there just working out, and this is when I start to really like manifest and envision, and I have the time now. I'm not getting, obviously there's, in prison, unfortunately, there's rules of engagement. It's almost like you're programmed, this is who you have to hate. This is who you cannot, so if you do this, you're weak, you're soft. And, as I did the time, you have to follow certain politics, or it'll set off, or you'll get hit up yourself. I just was tired of this ideology that I didn't believe in, but I had to live a certain way on this prison. And it was like everything was just bottled up in me. All the violence, all the years in the youth offender, all the years of this and the confinement, the stabbing, just the violence, my friends. And it was just like, I was just so done with it, man. But at the same time, I couldn't be, because I'm here. So I tried to lay low, but the people were like, they'd see me and be like, Viking, what's up, motherfucker? Hey, he's a crazy dude. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And like, so I'm working out, but I'm making a plan. And I was like, I want to get out. And at one point I wanted to join the French Foreign Legion in there, but that was gone. I realized that's not going to happen. So
we interviewed a guy,
I wrote them, and they wrote me back, and they were like, "You could come join." But as I got closer to reality, I was like, and so I hadn't talked to my family in probably 3-4 years at this time, anybody. Right. And I got a visit for the first time in a long time. My dad and he. I remember
Did he just show up?
Well, we kind of I told him I reached out to him saying, "Look, how are you? How you been?" Because I was unable to even talk to anybody outside. Like I told you before, like in the middle of riots and it's like, hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm in a traffic jam today. And I'm just like I could not, and I felt like it was a weakness to even hold on. I seen so many of those dudes just on the phone, always living that life, where are you at, girl? Where are you at?
Have you heard me say this? You remember I told you that there was the guy. I was like, you don't want to be that guy on the phone on Saturday. Why didn't you answer the fucking phone last night?
Yeah, I have heard you say this. I was just focusing. I was listening to this.
Can you hear this? We got to stop for a minute.
Yeah, we got to stop.
I've mentioned this before. You would see those guys on Saturday morning calling on the phone, screaming at their wife or girlfriend. Yeah. Why didn't you answer the fucking phone last night? What were you doing? And they're screaming, and they were just going through hell. And I even remember when I first got locked up, I had a guy that every day he was getting called up for mail call every day. Yeah. He's getting 2 or 3 letters on me, and he'd go and he'd open up. He was my cellie. Yeah. He's looking at and I've been locked up fucking 2-3 weeks. Yeah, yeah. And he's looking at he'd open the things. He'd look at the pictures of his girlfriend, and he'd go. And he'd tear them up in little pieces because you don't want some weirdo getting your shit. Tear them up, and he'd throw them out. And he'd look at the other one, he'd tear it up, and then he'd just tear them up and not even look at them, throw them away. He'd read the letter, he'd fold it up, he'd tear it up, throw it away. And then he'd get another letter, and this goes on. And one day I'm like, why? Well, I said, it's none of my business, but why are you tearing up the fucking pictures? He's like, I don't want any weirdos getting up, pull the pictures. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And I said, is that your girlfriend though? And is that your girl? And he goes, it was my ex-girlfriend. He said, so here's what's going on. He's like, this is why she's writing me so many letters. She wants to stay together. He goes, but I just pled guilty. I got 3 years. He goes, and I've done 4 years before. And I said, okay. He said, and I met her. We've been together a couple years, but I just got 3 years. And he said, and it's too hard for me to have a girlfriend for 3 years. And she says she's going to stay with me. Yeah. And I know right now she believes that. Yeah. He said, but I don't want to be one of these guys. And you'll see them. Yeah. They're on the phone. And he explains, they're on the phone screaming, yeah, the are you doing? And he said, the relationship's over. Yeah, it's done. He said, so it's better. I just told her, look, we're going to break up. And in 3 years, if I get out and you're available, we'll be together. That's
the best way to do it.
He goes, but do what you got to do in the meantime. And if you get married and you have kids, he's like, I want that for you. Yeah. He said, so, he goes, but she's not okay with it. It's been months, and every fucking day she's sending me letters and pictures and this. And he's like, but he goes, she'll figure it out eventually, and it's for the best. And he goes, and you just got locked up. You don't know. He goes, but you'll see. He said, he was like, the sooner you forget about the outside world, the better you're going to be.
It's so true.
And listen, I absolutely remember thinking, you're fucked.
In the beginning,
I'm not going to do that. Yeah. Why would you do that that? What do you mean forget about that? No, I'm going to get out of here. I don't want. And he was like, bro, if you get 2-3 years, he's like, I mean, you'll be sick. He said, you get 10 years. He said, you're just making your time worse. Yeah. If you're trying to maintain a relationship, or he said, or be a dad to your kids, or he's like, I mean, you can make phone calls. He's like, but there are guys who are trying to run their whole family's life from inside a prison. He's like, wild. You're a fucking voice on the phone every 2 days. Who the fuck are you?
So true, dude.
You can provide nothing.
Yeah.
He said, you become, and I remember he told me this too. It was the first time I heard this. He said, being in a relationship with a prisoner, he is even friendship. It's a one-way relationship. He because all I can do is ask you for things.
Yeah.
He said, I can provide nothing for you.
Yeah.
And he said, bro, it's better just forget it. Come out in 3 years. I'll come out in 3 years, and maybe she's available, and maybe we're together, and maybe she's married. And he said, that's fine too.
No, it's so true, dude. I mean, that's right.
But he had the right frame of mind. I didn't.
Well, no, you just came in thinking, and everybody goes through that, and then you realize, like, oh yeah, now I see what's going on. Like, those dudes are sick on the phone, yelling at the girl, and I'm like thinking, oh. But I had a girl, short story. She wrote me when I was in confinement for a while. And I remember writing her back and said, listen, don't ever write me again. If you're out, like I said, if I see you when I get out, we could talk, but you're gonna make me mentally unstable. Have a good life. And she wrote back like, is it because I'm ugly? And I just never wrote her back. And I just couldn't believe it. But I just completely cut off everybody, my family, and especially when I was at that place in confinement over at HCI, it was like, you have to go insane to remain sane. You know what I mean? And it's just, so after I got to where I was at and I finally reached out to my dad, I wrote him and said, hey, I want to see you, how are you? He told me, he's like, son, I would love to see you. How you been? He's like, I want to talk to you. So he comes up, and it sounded like he wanted to talk to me more than just about regular thing. And, and he's like, listen, I got about 4 years left to live. He's like, I need a kidney transplant. And I was like, I'll give you a kidney. He's like, maybe, but we'll see what happens. But I'm going to probably die within 4 years. And it was from when he was in the military, when he was younger. He went down and did some operation in, I want to say, Guatemala, and he drank some water that really caused a major infection in his kidney. And as he got older, they just, they stopped working, and one worked and the other one grew. It's called hyperfiltration, and it's a whole thing. So he told me that. I said, wow, like that was like some heavy stuff. But I was also grateful that I could, spend some time with him and see him when, hopefully, he doesn't die before I get out. So I'm down here, and it's wild as far as drugs and just these officers are fucking everybody. It's just, but I'd rather it be that than what I was up there, because there it was like walking on like landmines. You just don't know where you're gonna walk. And I was doing good time and just started programming, working out, and just getting ready to go home soon. And really something that changed everything was I had a friend named Trent. And, this place was wild, like I said, and that could be a good thing if you want to lay low and do you. It's not really any stabbings except over drug debts or whatever. And if you want any help or care, medical, you're not going to get anything. They don't get, you get the freedom without any type of, they're not going to do any medical. And a friend of mine, Trent, he was doing 3 years. He was from West Palm, and he converted. He got real religious. He was about to marry his girlfriend. He was about to go home in like 6 months, dude. Like, so close to the door. And we were walking on the yard. We all used to work out together. And he's walking, and all of a sudden he collapsed like that. And his friend was there, and we're all like, what the fuck? So he's like, help, help. And they had controlled movement here. And like, they had to open up the gate every 15 minutes, and you can go to the canteen. It was a lot more chill here. And so he's like, my friend, and she's like, the lady's like, So then one officer comes running over there, looks at him, and we hear him on the walkie-talkie say, go get the defibrillator. So then she runs back, gets the defibrillator, and they're like, actually, don't do anything. They might hold you liable. We're hearing this on the walkie-talkie, and we're like, whoa, everyone's screaming, what the fuck? And what the fuck? Help the man. So she's just standing there like this, and she leaves. Literally leaves the defibrillator there and walks away. The man's on the yard, and you can see he's having convulsions. There's no medical coming. Finally, 10 minutes later, this other officer comes running out, and she starts trying to do life-saving procedures on him, but it was too late. He was already dead, and like, she's trying to do everything, and it was like they just waited for him to die. And we look over, and the nurse from the medical is walking like this, just leisurely taking their time. Everyone's screaming, going crazy, and they have us like start to put us on the ground, like, everybody on the ground now. And they get my friend Trent off the yard, and literally he's dead. And they're trying to act like he's alive. They like pick him up, and he's like this, and they fold his legs over in the wheelchair like a dolly, and they wheel him out like trash. Mm-hmm. And that really got under my, like, that pissed me off. And I ended up having some words with some guards, and I was used to where I was at from before, and I was expecting everyone to just pop off from this situation. But no, they were all like, nah, enjoy. So I took it a little too far, yelling at the guard, just going crazy. Like I wasn't having it, man. You just let my friend die. And then what really pushed me over the edge was like K2 and like it was like real prevalent. He didn't smoke any K2. He didn't do any drugs. He was going home. He was living a clean life, working out. They're like, yeah, we found out why he died. He had a whole thing of K2 in there. We knew he planted it, and I just snapped, and they ended up shipping me to another prison because of that. And this is where I ended up EOSing from. And I get there, and I had already put together my plan. And I said, I want to get out and get in, because, you know, like my passion was always like kickboxing, wrestling. I grew up, you know, doing that and training, personal training. And I started just seeing, you know, just like calling, getting closer with my pops. And, you know, he was like, what the fuck? I just saw you last week. You're already gone already.
Right.
And, but he understood. And so, you know, he was helping me find like gigs that I could do. And I get out, and my mind was, okay, I'm going to do what I have to do. And I started working regular jobs. I was even sleeping in a car I got a job at a kickboxing gym. It was like a fitness gym, and I would sleep in the car, go to work 5 a.m. to 1, go back in the car. That was my whole life. And then I met a coach, and I said, I want to fight. I want to fight, because it wasn't that I wanted the violence and this and that. It was that I loved the atmosphere of being around, just constantly training and around guys that are bettering themselves, the camaraderie. Mm-hmm. And also, I wanted to put some honor on my name, man. I felt like I changed so much from that first little kid that went to the youth offender to now, that I was like disgusted at myself, and I wanted to become like something that people could say, well, look at him, like look at that man right there, he's a fighter. So I got into kickboxing and MMA, did 11 amateur fights, you know, and then my son was born in between that time, and you know, I kept fighting to show him, like, he was a baby still, but I wanted him to see that's who your dad is, you know, not who that guy was on, you know, kicking indoors and stuff. And during one of my fights, a famous kickboxer from the 80s, you know, I'm there, just my friend and I, and I'm covered with ink. We were like, everyone else was like the Karate Kid schools are all like training for, and we're just us two convicts like there. And he's like, I need to know, man, who are you? I got to the championship amateur fight in South Carolina, and it was an amazing fight. You know, I lost by decision, but it could have been one of those fights it was just badass. And he did an interview with me, and he's like, who are you? Like, who are you too? I've never seen just two guys come in here and just do like, I was like, and I explained it to him. It went viral, and that's how I got into it. And I kept fighting for a while, and as my business, my brand took off with social media and other things I was doing with my training, I really just took a break from fighting, because I felt like I've been fighting my whole life. And I came back for one more fight, hurt my knee, did a charity fight, and hurt my knee. But like, I accomplished, I got where I wanted to be through literal blood, sweat, and tears. And like the connections I made, I was able to become a GM at a gym. But I had a vision, man, that I knew that I could do this social media stuff. I knew that if I got and told my story after the first video went viral from just that interview at the fight of the kickboxer, or the old school kickboxer who ran the promotion, just my story. And that's when I started to crank up, and ultimately got to 1 million followers on TikTok, cranking up now on YouTube. And it's, I guess, one of those things where, like I said, that adversity, that pain, that suffering, like, I was a piece of shit. I deserved to go to prison, you know, and I was raising my hand for every situation. Like, yeah, it's like, oh, Freddy, that's so crazy. How does this? No, but I was going in these situations willingly. I was causing these violence, and I don't regret hurting any of these chomos that hurt women or kids like that. It is what it is. Like, it's a situation where you see on the news, and you're like, man, if I could just be 5 minutes alone with that guy. But I was 5 minutes alone, and, you know, so that I never regretted. But I put myself in so many horrible situations and so much pain, and so that I had to see why I was so angry, this misguided anger. And, you know, as I matured and had a son, I knew that I had two choices, dude. I'm fighting. I have all this, and I have a business that's about to start thriving. I'm a GM at a gym. I could take everything, all the pain, all the suffering, and knowing I went through that, and become the best father possible, or just go back and do what everybody else does and say, oh, it's too hard, and go commit a crime and go right back. And, you know, my son, everyone has their own spiritual beliefs, but I always feel like if you have pure intentions, no matter what you do, regardless of your past, as long as you didn't like do no sick ass shit, you know, like, you can have a change. And if you have that pure intentions and knowledge, and you apply it, and I just saw my son as like that was my second chance. Not getting out of prison, not everything else, not getting these like lucky and not getting a life sentence or whatever. It was seeing my son, this beautiful kid that I could guide, and you know, it's like I went through this so he doesn't have to, you know, hopefully. And I started really just getting into like my company, my brand, Viking Mindset, all that, and just being a father, and you know, my dad unfortunately passed away, but I got to at least have that time with him, which was a blessing, and he got to meet, you know, his grandson. And, you know, a lot of things happen along the road where it tests you. And a lot of times it took a lot of time to get back to reality. Like, it was so hard to go from that world to a world. I didn't know anything about touch screens. Like, when I left prison, my cellie, Catfish, he's like, man, take care. And I was like, hey, man, what's your MySpace, bro? And I'll never forget his look, dude. He looks at me and he's like, come here, young man. Like, and I thought I did something wrong. He's like, let me talk to you, man. He goes, listen, man, I know you've been gone a long time and you've been a lot of confinement. Don't tell any women about MySpace when you get out. And I was like, I didn't know. And then I got out and I realized, like, oh, shit. And it took me a while because I had this, even though I had the discipline, I was training, but the fighting, it wasn't because I needed the violence. It was because it was something so hard to do that having to train and be in a camp, whether it's amateur, whatever it is, you're still, you know, battling, having that hanging over your head. You have to be the best version of yourself at all times. You know, you have to be in the best shape physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. You can't be out drinking. So that's how I wanted to live my life. And I found other people that there weren't necessarily criminals or you know, they all had their stories, but they didn't have like this intense prison stories, at least most of them. And it was like I found people that are all training for a goal, to be the best version of themselves and study and train for battle, you know, essentially like amateur fighting, but still. And that opened up doors and everything just worked out. And I just stay with pure intentions and know that, you know, through all the suffering and it gave me a purpose that no matter what happens, no matter, I'm here for my son. There's nothing that can break me. Nothing on this world that can break me. Like, I went through all that shit, from tattoo artists poisoning people to getting put in cells, to fight to the death, to almost getting life sentences, stabs, and Freddy Krueger. It's like, I'm here, and my son's here, and you know, with the fights and my history, it's like, let's do this, man. And how I am, just being a father and providing and just trying to hope that I could show other people, like, look, bro, I was a fucking savage, fucking psychopath. And here I am as a good man, teaching my son how to be a righteous man, fighting in amateur fights and just trying to help people with pure intentions, man. And I try to tell people, if my fucking psycho ass can do it, just imagine what somebody that doesn't have to even go through a quarter of that bullshit can go through, you know? And that's where I'm at today, brother.
I have a couple quick questions,
Of course.
and I know Colby does. So one, where did you get your tattoos?
Everything was in prison.
In prison?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm blasted from my neck all the way down, yeah. The whole stomach, whole chest, yeah.
Also, your son, what is his mother around? Are you still with her? Or?
No, I'm not with her, but
Okay.
you know, he has a mother in his life, but like him and I are very, very close. You know, like we're super close. Like you know, I'm very active in his life every day, all day. You know, it's my boy. It's my pride.
What else? Anything?
I mean, I guess the first question I'd have for people watching, what is Viking Mindset? Like, what actually is that?
So, are you
Like your business, and then kind of like the philosophy behind it,
Okay.
or kind of maybe your...
All right, so that's a good question. So Viking Mindset was, I had got the nickname Viking when I was locked up because I was in a fight one time and the dude was beating me and I just kept coming forward and forward. And they're just like, this fucking dude's a fucking Viking. He just doesn't, he's ready to just go to Valhalla here. And I just kept just going and I ended up winning because he ran out of breath. So I had that nickname and it stuck with me. And I've always been very into knowledge, whether it's ancient times with Vlad the Impaler, whatever it is, history from the Egyptians, Roman, everything. I just I love historical knowledge. And I started, once that fight went viral after I interviewed and did that whole thing at my kickboxing fight, I started a page on TikTok and called Viking Mindset. And I used my philosophy of the Viking mindset, not what prison or what anything is on TV or any of that stuff. The way it was is you provide, you protect, you live with honor, you die with honor, but it's always about providing and teaching your son, the next generation, or your daughter, whoever, to be the best version of themselves. And there's nothing better than their philosophy and their culture than to die with honor and purpose, protecting your people. So my thing is, of course, that's heroic, but I want to live with that honor and courage. Say, look, I survived that shit, and now I went through all that hell, and I have that Viking mindset where I will do anything to protect and provide for my son, but I don't have to die for him. I have to live for him, and that's the Viking mindset. And all in all, you know.
Okay. Nothing. He usually has 5 or 6 questions.
Well, yeah, I mean, actually, I got some questions. They're more so stories that.
Whatever you want, brother.
Yeah. So, the most evil inmate you ever met, Clark. What's the story behind that?
So he was a real piece of shit, serial wannabe, and it's just one of those things where the COs basically put him in a position and me in a position to get him hit up. And he was bragging about what he did to women and children, and the COs couldn't take it anymore. And I raised my hand for that one. And, you know, and it got messy, you know. It was a fight. He freaking got a toenail on my freaking face. We fought right there on the catwalk, right by the shower. It was an ugly one, but one thing I just hate, you know, and this will never change, is anybody who violates women and children like that. I will never stand for that ever, and that was why I raised my hand on that one. Yeah, that's one you should go check out. It's on the TikTok. It's a brutal story.
Another TikTok that I saw did really well. I didn't watch it, so I don't know if the answer is similar. But what happens to school shooters? Like, how are they treated? Okay, so that's a very good one. I talk about in that one. So Nathaniel Brazil, I don't know if you guys know that name. So to go back to when I was direct filed on the 12th floor, there was a kid named Nathaniel Brazil, and he was in there for shooting his teacher, where I'm in the county and area I was from. And I talk about our interactions with him first on how he was not viewed as the same as a regular school shooter. He shot a teacher and he was scared. And, you know, when I first met him when we were young, he was very wild and serious about that life. And later on, when I did my adult bit, I saw him, because I think he got 20, 25 years. He was like almost like Johnny Cochran, they called him, the Johnny Cochran of prison. Like, he became such a different person that was wild. But then on the comparison is there was these guys from Jacksonville that shot a school and killed some kids. And, you know, I saw one dude, he went from being the tough guy with all these gangster tattoos to last I saw him, he was getting married on the yard to some guy named Debo, you know, and they did not respect him. They poisoned his food. Yeah, that one is very brutal, what they did to him. And a lot of the other ones, they isolate and they do more of a mental torture to them. They poison their food. They just make them locked up. They don't give them their canteen, letters. They almost cut them off from society, you know, because that's their thing. They want that attention. And it's like a lot of inmates where it's very corrupt, the COs know, okay, if we hit him up, it'll be all over the news. So what's the worst thing we can do to someone like that? Cut off the world from him, cut off everything. And that makes them go literally insane. So that's what that was about. 3 different views on, you know, one that became a boy, and he came in there like a gangster. He thought what he did was like heroic, like the kids at his school. And next thing I know, he went from gangster to, I guess, Debo and him had a whole wedding on the yard and everything, to a picnic. I don't know. I know you touched on it a little bit, like kind of when you transitioned, like you started developing a plan to get out. Was there like a point, or was there like a specific point that you can look back on, or what made you make that change? Or was it just because you were just tired of it, or is it kind of like a point of realization?
No, that's a very good question. So it was a little combination of both. I always knew, like, as I got away from everything, I knew that who I was. Like it sucks that I had to go to prison to know, man, I'm not, like, nothing's worse than wasted potential. And I felt like, man, I wasted so much fucking potential. And I remember, like, I would have to, like, manifest, like, I'd be writing down, like, these plans and these visions, but then, like, have to, like go on and put this, like, fake, like, bravado on and be on this politics and hate this person, hate that person, do this and that, and then go back to trying my plan. And one thing like that was going on. And, I had a good friend of mine, Christopher Reith, a Marine, a very good dude, who told me, he's like, man, you have so much potential, dude. Like, and it just, that stuck with me because he was a very righteous dude. But I remember I was in confinement, and I remember how stupid I was. I was in the highest level of confinement, and they were taking us out, and they're like dog cages. And I'm walking out there, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm around all the big dogs now. I'm this young, up-and-coming star, and I did it. Like, that's how stupid I was, dude, misguided. Like, and I remember talking to a dude who was like highly respected, and he's like, oh, I know you are a Viking. What's up, man? And he's like, man, you're fucking, not disrespectful, but he's like, you're an idiot, dude. But he didn't say it like to aggressively.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean, dude? And he's like, dude, I would for what you have, bro. And I was like, huh? He's like, a fucking release date? Less than a decade? What the are you doing, bro? And I was like, here I am, literally causing all this mayhem and just in wars and risking, like my friend Spawn, who got 27 years on a 3-year sentence, you know what I mean? And just all that shit. And here I am, talking to somebody I thought would embrace me and say, you're doing great, kid. Right. Looks at me like, man, what the is wrong with you, kid? And all that combined, and then, I just knew that I can't do this, man. I can't be one of these people. I can't be these people that come in nonstop. It's just, I want to be able to take what I've gone through, the pain, the suffering, the good, the bad, whatever I feel spiritually, and be able to give that knowledge to somebody in my life, and that's what was the ultimate change.
Yeah, I was just going to say that reminds me of when I got to the medium, I was complaining about, how much time I'd gotten, and my cousin had said, because I actually had a cousin in prison, yeah, and he was like, Dad, stop doing that. He said, stop doing it. No, you said, you're not making your time easier. You're not making anybody else's time either. And for you to bitch because you got a bunch of time, he goes, bro, you realize most of the tables you're sitting at, these guys have fucking life sentences. Yeah. Because I first went to the medium.
All right.
So they're like, these guys have 30 years, 45 years, 80 years, a life sentence. Yeah. Like, they'll move down from the pen. Even if you have a life, you can go to a medium. You can actually go to a low with a life, but you have to be so old. You know what I'm saying? They'll reduce it. Like, he's 65, he's in a pen, he's got a life, 2 life sentences, whatever. He's never been any problems, but we can put him in the medium because he's over 65. He's harmless at this point. Although I look at Mike Huston and I don't see harmless. So
you'll see some dudes.
You see guys that are 75 years old. There was a guy that was like 80 years old, and black guy who could jump up on the bar and just smash out. I remember
seeing some old dudes, and you're just like, whoa, dude, like, doing muscle ups and stuff.
This is insane. Yeah. Like, you me. Look at you.
That's true.
But and I just remember thinking, you need to shut your fucking mouth, bro. Like, some of these guys are never going home, and maybe for good reason, but it doesn't make it any. It still sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe you don't. I don't know. I see these guys, the time they hand out to these guys. I just go, especially in the federal system. Well, it's the funny thing is, look, if you look at the state of Florida, like the sentences are comparable. They give out a shitload of time in Florida, right? Because you'll sit there and, like, the sentences you're getting, I've interviewed guys that they're like, 3 home invasions, did this, did that, and they're like, but I was in New York. So you're like, what does that mean? Then they get like 7 years. You're like, 7 fucking years. I know guys that got 25 fucking years or 20 years in the federal system for 1 home invasion. Yeah. You got 4 of them. And you've been in and out of prison. They're like, but it's New York. And you're like,
I've heard
what does that mean? Or you're in this, you're in whatever, Idaho or something, and you find out, and then they give these sentences that are like 30 years. They're like, oh my God. They're like, no, listen how it works. And then they start calculating. You're like, he's out you're out in like 3 years. You're like, you got 30 years. You're walking out in 3. It's like, nonviolent, or no, or this, or I didn't have a gun, or this. It's like, but so I mean,
it's so true, dude.
It's funny, the guys that are some of the guys that I've seen that have been the most miserable got the least amount of time.
And the most chill are the lifers.
Yeah. And it's like, God, you're bitching about 4 years? Like, I'd do anything for 4 years right now.
That's the truth, dude.
So you're working, you're working at a gym.
Well, right now I run my own personal training company. So
okay.
Yeah, I took the Viking mindset and just completely went on my own.
Okay.
And
when did that happen?
It's about a year ago.
Oh, cool.
And
that's good.
Yeah. So I went because I was like, you know what? I got enough I got enough traction now. You know what? I want to do it for myself now. And it took off with that. And TikTok took 1 million followers now. And
how long did that take to get 1 million followers?
About almost 2 years, I'd say.
Fuck. That's fast, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've had some major problems with TikTok. Yeah. Like we started like 3 channels and had them all just we just get crushed.
Yeah, we've had I think one might have got just canceled. One was created in Canada, so we couldn't monetize it.
Oh, I can't monetize in Canada?
No, we had a guy, you have people, I'm sure you have people reach out and be like, they want to help you.
Yeah.
We had a Canadian guy, great guy. Set up the channel. I'll run the whole channel for you. I feel like I have the algorithm down. I'm going to start it for you. I do the whole, absolutely great. I appreciate it. Started it up, but he's in Canada. He didn't even know. We didn't know. At some point after, he built it up to 100,
100, yeah.
About
150 millions of views.
And then he got busy at work. He's like, look, I can't do it anymore. I'm going to hand it back to you guys. Here, you can just take it over. And of course, we get it back and we go to monetize it because now it can be monetized. And you realize, nope. Can't monetize it. It's Canadian. So we had to start over again. And then we just started ours here.
Yeah, we just started over. Yeah, probably at the beginning of the year.
Year and a half?
The beginning of the year is we started getting monetized. And it's doing well. And then, like we're dealing with a little bit of issues we were talking about earlier. But
it's a struggle. It's hard to figure it out. And it's hard to, you see some people will get, even same thing with the YouTube. I always get people will compare you like, bro, why don't you have 1 million subscribers? So-and-so does, and so-and-so does. Well, I'm not so-and-so.
Yeah, dude.
And I'm like, and I feel like I'm doing pretty good. Like I just started this. Like I don't know what I'm doing. Like I feel like I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm not Johnny Mitchell.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Sorry.
Yeah. But your channel is definitely amazing, dude.
But 1 million subscribers, that's on TikTok, that's.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I grind it. But like you said, it's just one of those things where you got the good intentions, dude, and you just keep going and going, trying to help, and things will fall into place, But I'm just grateful, man. So yeah, that's what. So I started the training, and then have my social media, the brand, and do some other affiliate marketing and stuff like that. And now I'm gonna get into the YouTube. I've got a decent following, like not that big, about almost 14, 15,000 on YouTube. But I just wanted to test the waters on there, and I'm gonna make some more detailed documentaries and audiobooks and stuff like that. And you're though, dude. You should be proud of yourself, bro.
I'm semi-proud,
It's badass,
I'm
dude.
proud. Sometimes I get proud, and then, then my wife's like, you're not all that. You're not all that.
Hey, you need someone like that now,
Listen, I appreciate you making the drive.
Yeah, for sure, dude. I appreciate you having me.
Hey, you guys, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, we're going to have all the links to Viking Mindset, TikTok. He's also got an Instagram he didn't mention. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube channel, and we're going to have all the links. You just click on the link, go straight there, subscribe, follow, do all the stuff. Really appreciate you guys watching. Please consider joining my Patreon. It's $10 a month, and it really does help Colby and I make these videos. I appreciate you guys so much. Leave me a comment. Thank you very much. See ya.